One wrong text. That's all it took to shatter the boundary between two worlds that were never supposed to collide. Daniel Brooks, single father, cautious programmer, living a careful, quiet life. Ava Sterling, billionaire tech executive, powerful, untouchable, completely out of reach. One night, he sent a heartfelt message to the wrong person, to the exact person who should never have received it. Instead of anger, she showed up at his door. And from that moment, everything changed forever. Stay with this story until the end. Hit like and comment with the city you're watching from so I can see how far this story has traveled. Daniel Brooks didn't believe in accidents anymore. Not after what happened 3 years ago when his ex-wife walked out on him and their infant son without so much as a backward glance. Not after the sleepless nights, the baby formula mixed at 2 in the morning, the daycare calls in the middle of sprints at work. Life had taught him that chaos was simply poor planning dressed up in excuses. So he planned everything. Meal prep on Sundays. Liam's clothes laid out the night before. Code commits reviewed twice before pushing. Even his texts got drafted, edited, reconsidered, which made what happened on that Tuesday night in late September all the more impossible to explain. "You're overthinking it," Marcus had said over the phone earlier that evening. Marcus Chen, his college roommate turned occasional voice of reason, though Daniel used that term loosely. "Just tell her how you feel." "There's nothing to tell," Daniel had replied, watching Liam build a tower of blocks on the living room floor. "She's not even in my league. She's not in anyone's league." Ava Sterling, Marcus had let the name hang there like saying it aloud might summon her. Boston's newest tech darling, 30 years old, billionaire, runs half of Hexagon Labs now. "Yeah, I can see why you're intimidated." "I'm not intimidated. I'm realistic. You've been staring at her in meetings for 3 months. I look in her direction during presentations. There's a difference." Marcus had laughed, that irritating laugh he'd perfected sophomore year. "Whatever helps you sleep at night, man. Look, I gotta run. Sarah's calling. But seriously, you spend all your time either coding or parenting. When's the last time you just felt something?" Daniel had ended the call without answering, because the truth was uncomfortable. He did feel something. Every time Ava walked into a room, every time she challenged some executive's lazy thinking in a product review, every time she stayed late working in the glass-walled office on the 5th floor while everyone else went home, he felt a lot of things. He just knew better than to act on any of them. Liam had looked up from his blocks. "Daddy, can we have mac and cheese?" "We had that yesterday, buddy." "But I like it." "I know you do. How about chicken nuggets instead?" "Okay." Liam had gone back to his tower, satisfied. 3 years old, and already easier to negotiate with than most of Daniel's coworkers. Daniel had been texting Marcus later after Liam went to bed, when it happened. The kind of mistake that shouldn't be possible in 2024, with autocomplete and contact suggestions and every safety feature built into modern phones. Except Daniel had been tired and distracted and thinking about the product demo he had to give the next morning, and somehow his fingers found the wrong name. The message was already sent before he realized. "I can't stop thinking about her. It's stupid. She's brilliant and untouchable, and I'm just some guy writing back-end code who leaves at 5 because he's got a kid waiting at daycare. But when she talks about the future like she can see it, like she's already building it in her head, I forget how to breathe. I know it's never going to happen. I know that. But I wish it could." Daniel stared at his phone, at the blue bubble that had just destroyed his life, at the name at the top of the screen that wasn't Marcus, but Ava Sterling. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." He'd only gotten her number 2 weeks ago, when she'd asked the entire product team for contact info in case she needed to reach anyone outside office hours. He'd plugged it in, labeled it carefully, never imagined he'd use it. Certainly never imagined he'd use it to send her a message that made him sound like a stalker. His hands shook as he stared at the screen. The message showed as delivered. No option to unsend, no way to take it back. Just sitting there, his humiliation preserved in pixels. He could explain, say it was meant for someone else, which was true. Say he'd been talking about someone else entirely, which was a lie but maybe believable. Or he could say nothing, hope she never saw it, hope she was the kind of person who ignored random texts from employees she barely knew. Except Ava Sterling didn't ignore anything. That was part of what made her terrifying. Daniel sat on his couch in the dark, phone clutched in his hand, and waited for the other shoe to drop. For the reply that would either be ice-cold professionalism or a screenshot forwarded to HR. For his carefully constructed life to fall apart because of one stupid, careless moment. The reply came 10 minutes later. Your place or mine? Daniel read it 3 times. Then a 4th. Then checked the contact name again to make sure he wasn't hallucinating. Still said Ava Sterling. The message still said what it said. Before he could formulate a response, another text came through. That was a joke. Terrible timing, I know. But I'm outside your building. Can we talk? Daniel's heart stopped. He looked toward his apartment door like she might materialize through it. Outside his building. How did she even know where he lived? Company directory, probably. The same place he'd found her number. His phone buzzed again. I promise I'm not here to make this weird. Well, weirder. I just think maybe we should talk in person instead of via text. Unless you'd rather not, which I would completely understand. Daniel stood up, sat back down, looked at the closed door to Liam's bedroom, where his son slept peacefully, unaware his father's world was currently imploding. He could ignore this. Pretend he'd fallen asleep, deal with it tomorrow at work where there would be witnesses and professional boundaries and escape routes. Or he could open the door. He opened the door. Ava Sterling stood in the hallway outside his apartment wearing jeans and a gray sweater, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. No makeup that he could see. No entourage, no security, no armor of executive presence. Just a woman who looked almost nervous, which seemed impossible. Hi, she said. Hi. Daniel's voice came out steady, which surprised him. I'm sorry. That message wasn't meant for you. I figured. She smiled, small and careful, though I'm trying to decide if that makes it better or worse. Worse, definitely worse. Can I come in, or is that too weird? I realized halfway here that showing up at your apartment might be crossing several lines. Daniel stepped back, holding the door open. No weirder than anything else tonight. She walked in, and he was suddenly aware of how small his place was. One bedroom for Liam, the couch that folded out for him, a kitchen barely big enough to turn around in. Liam's toys scattered across the floor despite Daniel's best efforts. A far cry from wherever Ava Sterling lived, which he imagined involved marble and floor-to-ceiling windows and furniture that cost more than his car. Nice place, she said, and sounded like she meant it. You don't have to lie. I'm not. It feels lived in. That's rare in Boston. She looked at the photos on the wall, mostly of Liam. Your son? Yeah, Liam. He's 3. He looks like you. She turned back to face him, and the nervousness he'd seen in the hallway was still there, subtle but present. So, that message. Daniel wanted the floor to open up and swallow him. I was texting my friend Marcus about someone, and I hit the wrong name. I know how that sounds. It sounds honest. Ava sat down on the arm of his couch, uninvited but somehow not intrusive. Can I ask who you were talking about? This was it. The moment where he could lie, deflect, save whatever shred of dignity he had left. But something about the way she looked at him, direct and waiting, made lying seem worse than the truth. You, he said quietly. I was talking about you. Ava nodded slowly, like he'd confirmed something she already knew. That's what I thought. I'm sorry. It was inappropriate and unprofessional, and I completely understand if you want to report this to HR. I'll transfer teams, or resign if that's easier. I just need to make sure it doesn't affect my position because I can't afford to lose this job. I have Liam and Daniel. She said his name like she'd said it before, comfortable and familiar. Breathe, he breathed. I'm not reporting you to HR, she continued. I'm not asking you to transfer or resign. I showed up here because... She paused, choosing words carefully. Because I needed to know if I've been imagining things for the past 3 months. Daniel stared at her. Imagining what? You. Watching me during meetings, staying late on the same nights I do, the way you explain technical concepts like you're teaching instead of showing off, which is basically unheard of in tech. The fact that you leave every day at exactly 5 o'clock, no matter what's on fire, because you have someone waiting for you. She met his eyes. I notice things. It's kind of my job. And I noticed you. I didn't think you knew I existed. I know everyone exists, but you. Ava trailed off, then seemed to decide something. When you presented the API redesign last month, you spent 5 minutes explaining why we needed to prioritize accessibility features even though they'd pushed the timeline. Every exec in that room wanted to cut them, but you made the case like it actually mattered, like the people using our product were real and not just metrics. And I thought, who is this person? Someone who's apparently bad at keeping his thoughts to himself. She laughed, and it transformed her face into something younger, less guarded. Yeah, well, that makes two of us. She looked down at her hands. I've been trying to figure out how to talk to you for weeks, but there's no good way to approach an employee when you're in my position. Everything I considered sounded like either a HR violation or a bad rom-com, so I didn't. And then you sent that text and I thought, okay, universe, I hear you. The universe has a twisted sense of humor. It really does. Ava stood up, walked over to the window. His apartment faced a brick wall in a narrow alley, nothing worth looking at, but she looked anyway. This is complicated. You know that, right? I know. I'm your boss, technically several levels up, but still, there are policies, optics. People love gossip, especially about women in leadership positions. I know, Daniel said again. And you have a kid. That's not a complication, that's just a fact. But it means the stakes are different for you. Everything's different for me. He moved to stand beside her, both of them staring at the brick wall. I don't get to take risks anymore. I don't get to just feel things and see what happens. Every choice I make affects Liam. So this is a bad idea. Terrible idea. They stood there in silence. Outside, someone walked past the alley, their footsteps echoing off the brick. A car alarm went off somewhere, then stopped, the city breathing around them. I should go, Ava said, but didn't move. Probably. I have a 6 a.m. call with Tokyo. It's almost midnight. I know. She turned to face him, and they were close enough that he could see the gold flecks in her brown eyes. Daniel? Yeah? That message you sent, the part about forgetting how to breathe when I talk. She paused. That happens to me too. When you present, when you talk about your son, when you stay late debugging something that anyone else would have punted to the next sprint because you want it done right. She took a breath. I'm not good at this. At anything that isn't work. I don't know how to want something without turning it into a goal I can achieve or a problem I can solve. But I want to figure it out. If you do. Daniel thought about all the reasons this was insane. The power dynamic, the scrutiny they'd face, the risk to his stability and her reputation. He thought about Liam, asleep in the next room, depending on him to make smart choices. He thought about 3 years of playing it safe, of keeping his head down, of never letting himself want anything he couldn't control. Then he thought about the way Ava had shown up here, nervous and uncertain, dropping every wall she spent her days hiding behind. The way she'd noticed him when he was trying not to be noticed. The way she was looking at him now, waiting for an answer she was clearly terrified of. I'm not going to pretend I know how this works, he said. I've got about 100 reasons why we shouldn't even try. But I spent the last 3 months watching you and thinking it was impossible. And now you're standing in my apartment saying you noticed me too, and I think I'd regret it forever if I let you walk out that door because I was too scared to see where this goes. Ava smiled, and it was nothing like the controlled professional expression he'd seen in meetings. It was genuine and a little bit reckless. That's a very long-winded way of saying yes. I'm a programmer. We're verbose. I've noticed. She reached out and took his hand, tentative, giving him every chance to pull away. Her skin was warm, her grip firm. Daniel laced his fingers through hers and felt something in his chest unlock. Some tension he'd been carrying so long he'd forgotten it was there. I should still go, Ava said. Tokyo call. Right. Neither of them moved. This is going to be complicated, she said. You mentioned that. People are going to talk. They might not be kind about it. People are rarely kind about anything. She squeezed his hand. I need you to understand something. I'm not good at relationships. I work too much. I'm controlling. I have a hard time trusting people because most people want something from me. And if we do this, if we try this, I need to know you're not looking for me to be something I'm not. I'm looking for you to be exactly what you are, Daniel said. That's kind of the whole problem. Ava laughed again, that same unguarded sound. Okay? Okay? Okay. She let go of his hand, but slowly, reluctantly. I really do have to go. But can we have dinner? Somewhere we can actually talk without worrying about who's watching? When? Thursday? I'm in New York tomorrow, back Wednesday night. Thursday works, but it'll have to be early. Liam's sitter can only stay until 8. 6:30? Perfect. Ava moved toward the door, then stopped. Thank you. For what? For sending that text, for opening the door, for not pretending you didn't mean what you said. She looked at him over her shoulder. I spend most of my life in rooms where everyone's performing some version of themselves they think I want to see. It's exhausting. This was real. You were real. So thank you. Daniel walked her to the door, hyper-aware of the distance between them, the strange intimacy of this moment. She paused in the doorway. Good night, Daniel. Good night, Ava. She left, and he stood there listening to her footsteps fade down the hallway, down the stairs, out into the Boston night. Then he closed the door and leaned against it, processing what had just happened. His phone buzzed, a text from Ava. For what it's worth, I'm terrible at this too, but I think maybe we can be terrible at it together. Daniel smiled and typed back. I think I'd like that. He checked on Liam, who was sprawled across his toddler bed, one arm flung over his stuffed elephant. Completely peaceful, completely unaware that his father had just done something monumentally stupid and possibly wonderful. Sleep didn't come easy that night. Daniel lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation over and over, analyzing it like code, looking for errors in logic, places where he'd misread the situation. But it kept coming back to the same thing. Ava Sterling had shown up at his apartment, had held his hand, had asked him to dinner. His phone buzzed again around 2 a.m. He grabbed it, expecting spam or maybe Marcus finally texting back. It was Ava. Can't sleep. Keep thinking about what happens next. Is that normal? Daniel typed back immediately. I have no idea what normal is anymore. But I'm awake too, if that helps. It does. What are you thinking about? He considered lying, going for something casual and safe. But she'd asked for real. And real was what he gave her. How I'm going to explain this at work. How people are going to react. Whether I'm being selfish putting you in this position when you've got so much more to lose than I do. Her reply came fast. I'm thinking about the same things. Also thinking about how you looked when you opened the door. Like you were preparing for disaster. I was. And instead you got me. Instead I got you. There was a pause, longer than the others. Daniel watched the 3 dots appear and disappear several times before her message finally came through. I told myself I wasn't going to do this tonight. That I'd be professional, keep my distance, not complicate your life. But then I saw that text and I thought, what if I'm wrong? What if the thing I've been avoiding is exactly what I need? So I got in my car and drove to your place before I could talk myself out of it. No plan, no strategy, just showing up and hoping you'd open the door. I'm glad you did. Me too. Even though I'm terrified. Why terrified? Another long pause. Because this matters. You matter. And I'm not used to things mattering outside of work. I don't know how to protect this the way I protect a product launch or a board meeting. There's no roadmap. Daniel read her words twice, feeling the weight of them. The vulnerability it must have taken to type that out and send it to someone she barely knew. Maybe that's okay. Maybe we figure it out as we go. That's not how I operate. I know, but maybe that's the point. He could almost feel her thinking on the other end, turning it over in her mind. Thursday, she finally sent. 6:30. I'll pick the place somewhere quiet, and we'll talk about all the reasons this is complicated and all the ways it could go wrong. Deal? Deal. Good night, Daniel. For real this time. Good night, Ava. He set his phone down and stared at the ceiling some more, but this time the anxiety had shifted into something else. Anticipation, maybe? Or hope, though that felt dangerous to name. Somewhere in Boston, Ava Sterling was probably lying awake too, running scenarios, calculating risks, trying to control something that couldn't be controlled. The thought made him smile. Morning came too fast. Liam woke him at 6:15, climbing onto the couch and bouncing on his stomach. Daddy, wake up. I'm hungry. Daniel groaned and pulled his son into a hug. What do you want for breakfast, buddy? Pancakes. We don't have time for pancakes. I've got an early meeting. Cereal? Cereal works. They went through their morning routine, breakfast, getting dressed, the small negotiations that defined life with a 3-year-old. Liam wanted to wear his Superman shirt, which was dirty. Liam didn't want to brush his teeth. Liam needed his elephant for daycare. Where was his elephant? Here, Daniel handed over the stuffed animal. Now shoes, please. Can we go to the park after daycare? Maybe. We'll see. You always say we'll see. Because sometimes we'll see turns into yes. Liam considered this, then nodded, satisfied. Okay. They made it to daycare by 7:45, Daniel's usual drop-off time. He kissed Liam goodbye, reminded him to listen to Ms. Sarah, and headed to the office with 15 minutes to spare before his first meeting. The Hexagon Labs building was one of those modern tech campuses that tried too hard. Lots of glass and exposed brick, standing desks and collaboration spaces, a coffee bar that served 8 different types of milk. Daniel usually arrived early, got his coffee, and disappeared into his corner of the 3rd floor before the place filled up. Today, walking through the lobby, he felt like everyone was watching him, which was paranoid and ridiculous because no one knew anything. The text had been private. Ava's visit had been late at night. There was nothing to know, except Marcus was waiting by his desk. You look terrible, Marcus said by way of greeting. Didn't sleep much. Yeah? What kept you up? Marcus had that look on his face, the one that meant he knew something or thought he knew something. Liam had a nightmare. The lie came easy, practiced from 3 years of single parenthood excuses. Uh-huh. Marcus clearly didn't believe him, but let it go. Hey, you hear about the executive shuffle? Sterling's taking over the entire product division. Announcements going out this morning. Daniel's stomach dropped. She's what? Yeah, big promotion. She'll be overseeing all product development now. Which means she's basically everyone's boss. Marcus grinned. Including the people you were definitely not staring at in yesterday's meeting. I wasn't staring. Sure. Anyway, there's an all-hands at 9, probably about that. Marcus headed toward his own desk. Coffee first, though. Want anything? I'm good. Daniel sat down and pulled up his email. Sure enough, there was a message from the CEO sent at 6 a.m. Team, I'm pleased to announce that Ava Sterling will be stepping into the role of Chief Product Officer, effective immediately. Ava brings extraordinary vision and leadership to this position, and I'm confident she'll drive Hexagon Labs to new heights. Please join me in congratulating her at this morning's all-hands meeting, CPO, Chief Product Officer. Which meant she wasn't just several levels above him anymore. She was at the top of the entire chain. Every product manager, every engineer, every designer ultimately reported to her, and he'd held her hand in his apartment less than 8 hours ago. His phone buzzed. Ava, I'm guessing you saw the email. We should probably talk about this. Probably. After the all hands? My office? Okay. Daniel put his phone away and tried to focus on work. He had code to review, tests to write, a product demo to polish. Normal things. Things that made sense. But when 9 o'clock came and he filed into the all-hands meeting with everyone else, watching Ava take the stage in a black suit and heels, every inch the powerful executive, he realized there was nothing normal about any of this anymore. She spoke about vision and innovation and building products that mattered, about the responsibility they had to their users and to each other. She was commanding, articulate, impossible to look away from. Everyone in the room was leaning forward, listening, and when her eyes swept across the crowd and landed on him for just a second, Daniel felt that same catch in his chest he'd felt last night. This was going to be complicated. The meeting ended, people dispersed, and Daniel made his way to the 5th floor. Ava's office was in the corner, all windows and minimalist furniture. Her assistant, a sharp-looking woman named Claire, nodded him through. Ava was standing by the window when he came in, looking out at Boston's skyline. "Close the door," she said without turning around. He closed it. "I should have told you last night," she said, "about the promotion. I knew it was coming. I don't know. I guess I wanted one conversation where I wasn't CPO of anything, where I was just me. I get that. She turned to face him. This changes things. You know that, right? I know. If we do this, if we try this, the scrutiny is going to be intense. Every decision I make regarding your team will be questioned. People will assume favoritism, or worse. They'll say I'm compromising my judgment, that you're using me for career advancement. Are you saying we shouldn't? Daniel asked, even though the question hurt. I'm saying we need to be smart about it. Ava moved away from the window, sat down at her desk. Back to business mode. There are policies. We need to disclose the relationship to HR. You might need to transfer to a different division, one I don't directly oversee. And even then, people will talk. Let them talk. Easy to say. Harder to live with. She looked at him, and there was something almost pleading in her expression. I'm not trying to back out. I'm trying to make sure you understand what you're signing up for. Daniel crossed the room and sat in the chair opposite her desk. I spent 3 years making every decision based on what was safe, what was responsible, what protected Liam. And I'm not going to stop doing that. He comes first, always. But last night, for the first time in a long time, I wanted something for myself. And that something was you. So yeah, I understand the risks. I understand that this could get messy. But I also think maybe it's worth it. Ava studied him for a long moment. You're sure? No, but I'm willing to find out. She smiled, small but genuine. Okay, then here's what we do. We wait. We don't make any announcements. We don't change anything publicly. We have dinner Thursday. We see if this is actually something or just chemistry with terrible timing. And if it is something, then we go to HR together and figure out the logistics. Does that work? That works. And Daniel? She leaned forward. If at any point you decide this is too much, if it's affecting Liam or your job or your peace of mind, you tell me. No judgment, no hard feelings. I need to know you'll do that. I will. Promise? Promise. She nodded, satisfied. Good. Now get out of my office before someone starts wondering why you're here. Daniel stood up, headed for the door, then paused. Ava? Yeah? Congratulations. On the promotion. You're going to be amazing at it. Thanks. She was already pulling up something on her computer, transitioning back into CPO mode. But she looked up one more time as he reached the door. Thursday, 6:30. Don't be late. I won't. He spent the rest of the day trying to work, trying to focus, trying not to think about the fact that he'd just agreed to pursue something with the most powerful person in the building. Marcus stopped by his desk around 3. So, Marcus said, leaning against the partition, you were in Sterling's office for a while this morning. She wanted to discuss the API project. For 20 minutes? It's a complex project. Marcus didn't look convinced, but he dropped it. You still coming to the team happy hour Friday? Can't. Liam. You never come to anything. I have a 3-year-old. Bring him, kids are allowed. Daniel considered it. Liam would probably love it, actually. Free pizza, probably too much attention from coworkers who thought all kids were adorable. And it would be normal, the kind of thing people did. Maybe, he said. I'll take maybe. Marcus pushed off the partition. Hey, you doing okay? You seem off today. Just tired. Right, the nightmare. From Liam. Marcus gave him a look that said he absolutely knew Daniel was lying but wasn't going to push. We'll get some sleep tonight. I'll try. 5 o'clock came, and Daniel packed up his things with the same routine he followed every day. Close laptop, grab keys, check phone for any last-minute messages. Head to the elevator, ride down to the lobby, walk 3 blocks to the T station, take the red line to daycare. Liam was sitting in the reading corner when he arrived, looking at a picture book with another kid. Daddy! He jumped up and ran over, wrapping his arms around Daniel's legs. Hey, buddy, good day? We painted. Yeah, what did you paint? A dinosaur. Miss Sarah said it was very creative. Miss Sarah, overhearing, smiled and nodded. Very creative. Also very green. Daniel signed Liam out, grabbed his backpack, and they headed home. Liam chattered the whole way about his day, about the dinosaur painting, about how Jackson stole his truck but then gave it back and said sorry. That's good, Daniel said. I'm glad he apologized. I shared my crackers with him. That was nice of you. They made it home by 6. Daniel heated up leftovers while Liam played with his blocks, building towers and knocking them down, over and over. Simple joy. Uncomplicated happiness. After dinner, bath time, books, the whole bedtime routine. Liam wanted the story about the bear who couldn't sleep, so Daniel read it twice, using different voices for each character. By the second reading, Liam's eyes were drooping. "Love you, buddy," Daniel whispered, tucking him in. "Love you too, Daddy." Daniel closed the door halfway and went back to the living room, sat on the couch, pulled out his phone. No messages from Ava. Which made sense. She was probably working late, or in meetings, or dealing with executive things he couldn't imagine, but still, part of him had hoped. His phone buzzed. Not Ava. Marcus. So what's really going on? Daniel sighed and called him. "Okay," Marcus said immediately. "Spill." "There's nothing to spill." "You're a terrible liar. You've been weird all day. You had a meeting with Ava Sterling in her office. And last night you texted me at midnight saying you couldn't stop thinking about someone, and now you're acting like you committed a crime. So yeah, I think there's something to spill." Daniel hesitated. Marcus was his best friend, had been for years. If he couldn't tell Marcus, who could he tell? "I accidentally texted Ava last night," he said finally. "The message I meant to send you, about her." Silence on the other end. Then, "Oh my God. Yeah." "What did she say?" "She showed up at my apartment." "She what?" "Can you not yell? Liam's asleep." Sorry, but seriously, she showed up at your place? Ava Sterling, billionaire CPO, showed up at your apartment? It wasn't announced yet, but yeah." "And?" "And we talked, and she said she noticed me too, that she's been trying to figure out how to approach me for weeks." More silence. Then Marcus started laughing, that delighted, can't believe this is real laugh. "This is insane," Marcus said. "This is actually insane. You're telling me you're going to date Ava Sterling?" "I don't know. Maybe. We're having dinner Thursday." "Thursday? That's 2 days away." "I'm aware." "Daniel. Man, do you understand how crazy this is? I've thought about literally nothing else for the past 24 hours, so yes." Marcus went quiet again, but this time it was thoughtful. "Are you scared?" "Terrified." "But you're doing it anyway?" "Yeah, I think I am." "Good," Marcus said. "You deserve this. You deserve something good." "I have Liam. He's good. You know what I mean? Something for you. Something that makes you happy just because it makes you happy." Daniel leaned back against the couch, staring at the ceiling again. "What if I screw it up?" "Then you screw it up. But at least you tried." They talked for another 20 minutes, Marcus asking questions, Daniel answering what he could. By the time they hung up, Daniel felt marginally better. Still terrified, still uncertain, but less alone in it. His phone buzzed one more time before he fell asleep. "Ava, sorry for the radio silence. Meetings until midnight, but I'm thinking about Thursday, about seeing you somewhere that isn't an office or your apartment at midnight. Looking forward to it." Daniel smiled and typed back, "Me too. Sleep well." "You too." He set his phone on the coffee table and closed his eyes, and this time, sleep came easier. Thursday arrived both too fast and not fast enough. Daniel spent Wednesday in a state of low-level anxiety, second-guessing everything. What did you wear to dinner with a billionaire? What did you talk about? How did you act normal when nothing about this was normal? By Thursday afternoon, he'd changed clothes 3 times and was considering canceling entirely. "You look nice," the daycare worker said when he picked up Liam. "Hot date?" "Something like that." Liam's sitter, a college student named Emma, who lived in his building, arrived at 6. Daniel gave her the usual instructions: bedtime at 8, no TV after 7:30, emergency numbers on the fridge. "We'll be fine," Emma said, already settling onto the floor to play blocks with Liam. "Go have fun." Fun. Right. Ava had texted him the address that morning. A small Italian place in the North End, family run, not fancy, but good. Daniel arrived 10 minutes early and waited outside, watching people walk past, couples heading to dinner, groups of friends laughing. Ava appeared at 6:28, wearing dark jeans and a blue sweater, her hair down. She looked different outside the office. Softer, somehow. More real. "Hi," she said. "Hi." They stood there for a second, neither quite sure what to do. Then Ava smiled and gestured toward the restaurant. "Shall we?" Inside, it was warm and loud, packed with people, but in a good way. The hostess led them to a corner table, relatively private. They sat down, and Daniel realized his hands were shaking slightly. "Nervous?" Ava asked. "A little." "Me too." That helped somehow. The idea that she was just as uncertain as he was. They ordered wine, though Daniel only had one glass because he had to stay sharp for Liam. They looked at menus and made small talk about the weather, about Boston, about nothing important. But underneath it, there was tension, awareness, the weight of everything they weren't saying. Finally, after their food arrived, Ava set down her fork and looked at him directly. "Okay," she said. "Let's just talk about it. The elephant in the room. Actually, the whole herd of elephants." Daniel appreciated the directness. "All right, I'm your boss. That's elephant number one. We can work around it. HR disclosure, you transferring divisions, but it doesn't change the fundamental dynamic. I have power over your career whether I want to or not." "I know." "Elephant number two, I'm not good at this. At dating, relationships, being vulnerable, I work 16-hour days. I travel constantly. I've been told more than once that I'm married to my job." "Are you trying to talk me out of this?" Daniel asked. "Maybe. Or maybe I'm just being honest about who I am so you can make an informed decision." He took a breath. "My turn?" She nodded. "I'm a single dad. That means Liam comes first, always. No negotiation. It means I can't be spontaneous. It means half our dates will probably end at 8 p.m. because that's when my sitter leaves. It means if he gets sick or has a bad day or needs me, everything else stops. I wouldn't expect anything different. And elephant number three," Daniel continued, "is that I haven't done this in years. The last person I dated was my ex-wife, and that ended with her walking out because she decided she didn't want to be a mother after all. So I'm kind of terrible at trusting people when they say they're in it for the long haul." Ava reached across the table and took his hand, the same way she had in his apartment. "I'm not her." "I know. But I get why you're scared." They sat there, hands linked across the table, while dinner conversations buzzed around them. "So," Ava said eventually, "given all those elephants, do we still want to do this?" Daniel thought about the easy answer, the safe answer. Thought about going home, tucking Liam in, going back to his controlled, careful life. Then he thought about the way Ava had shown up at his door, the way she was looking at him now, open and uncertain and willing to try. "Yeah," he said, "I do." She smiled, and it was like the sun coming out. "Me too." They ate and talked, really talked, about everything and nothing, about growing up. Her in California with parents who expected perfection, him in Ohio with a single mom who worked 3 jobs, about college, careers, the paths that had led them both to Boston, about Liam, who Ava asked about with genuine interest, not the polite obligation most people showed. "He sounds wonderful," she said. "He is. He's the best thing I ever did." "I don't know much about kids," Ava admitted. "I'm an only child and most of my friends don't have them yet. But I'd like to meet him, when you're ready for that." The fact that she left it up to him, that she understood the weight of that step, meant more than Daniel could articulate. They stayed until the restaurant started closing, until they were the last table left. Ava paid despite Daniel's protests, and they walked out into the cool October night. "I should get back," Daniel said. "Liam's sitter has class tomorrow morning." "Of course." Ava walked with him toward the tea station, neither of them in a hurry despite his deadline. This was nice. Really nice. It was. At the station entrance, they stopped. People flowed around them, heading home, heading out, living their lives. "When can I see you again?" Ava asked. "When do you want to?" "Tomorrow. But I know that's probably too soon." "I have Liam this weekend, but next week maybe." "Next week works." She hesitated, then leaned in and kissed his cheek, quick and soft. "Good night, Daniel." "Good night, Ava." He watched her walk away, hail a cab, disappear into the Boston night. Then he headed home, where Emma reported that Liam had gone down easy and everything was fine. After she left, Daniel checked on his son, found him sleeping peacefully, and allowed himself to feel something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. His phone buzzed. Ava, thank you for tonight, for being honest, for giving this a chance. I know it's complicated, but I think maybe you're worth complicated. Daniel smiled and wrote back, You're worth it too. And for the first time in 3 years, Daniel Brooks let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, something good was about to happen. The following Monday, Daniel walked into the office, bracing himself for something to feel different, for people to know, somehow, that his world had shifted. But everything looked exactly the same. Marcus was at his desk arguing with someone over Slack. The coffee bar had a line. Someone had left a box of donuts in the kitchen with a note that said, "Help yourself before they get stale." Normal. Completely, aggressively normal. Daniel got his coffee and sat down, trying to focus on the sprint planning meeting he had at 10, but his phone kept pulling his attention. Ava had texted him Sunday night, just a simple check-in about his weekend with Liam. They'd gone to the aquarium, and Daniel had sent her a picture of Liam pressed against the glass watching the jellyfish, completely mesmerized. She'd responded with a string of messages that felt almost stream of consciousness, about how she'd never been to an aquarium as a kid, how her parents thought they were frivolous, how she'd gone to one in Tokyo last year for a corporate event and spent the whole time wishing she could just look at the exhibits instead of networking. Then she'd apologized for rambling, and Daniel had told her not to, that he liked hearing her thoughts when they weren't filtered through executive polish. Now it was Monday, and they were back to being professional. Or trying to be. The sprint planning meeting was uneventful until Ava walked in halfway through. She didn't usually attend these. They were too operational, too in the weeds for a CPO. But there she was, sitting down at the far end of the table like it was completely normal. "Don't let me interrupt," she said. "Just wanted to observe how the teams are planning now that we've restructured." Daniel's project manager, Rachel, continued presenting the roadmap. Daniel tried to focus on her words, on the timeline, on the dependencies she was outlining. But he could feel Ava's presence like a magnetic field. "Daniel," Rachel said, pulling his attention back. "You want to walk through the API changes?" "Right, yeah." He pulled up his slides, walked through the technical architecture, explained the trade-offs they were making between performance and flexibility. It was material he could present in his sleep, but with Ava in the room, every word felt weighted. When he finished, there was a brief silence. Then Ava spoke. "Can you explain the decision to prioritize the webhook system over the batch processing improvements? I'm looking at the roadmap, and it seems like batch processing affects more users." It was a fair question, a good question, the kind of thing a CPO should ask. But Daniel felt the rest of the team's eyes on him, waiting to see how he'd respond to being challenged by the most senior person in the building. "The webhook system unblocks 3 major enterprise clients who are waiting on real-time data sync," Daniel said. "Batch processing is important, but those clients represent significant revenue. If we don't deliver webhooks this quarter, we risk losing them to competitors who already have that functionality." Ava nodded slowly. "And you validated that timeline with the enterprise team?" "We meet with them weekly. They've confirmed it's a blocker." "Okay, that makes sense." She made a note on her tablet. "Just wanted to understand the reasoning. Thanks." The meeting continued. Ava asked a few more questions, mostly directed at Rachel, then left 15 minutes before it ended. Professional, distant, exactly what she needed to be. But as she walked past Daniel's chair, her hand brushed his shoulder for just a second, quick enough that anyone watching would think it was accidental, deliberate enough that Daniel knew it wasn't. After the meeting, Marcus cornered him by the coffee machine. "That was weird," Marcus said. "What was weird?" "Sterling showing up to sprint planning? She's never done that before." "She said she wanted to observe." "Yeah, but why your team's sprint planning? Why not design or infrastructure or any of the other dozen teams?" Daniel poured his coffee carefully, not meeting Marcus's eyes. "Maybe we're just lucky." Uh-huh. Marcus was giving him that look again. "You're being weird." "I'm not being weird. You're absolutely being weird. You've been weird since last week, and now Sterling's showing up to your meetings and you're pretending it's normal." "It is normal. She's the CPO. She can go to whatever meetings she wants." Marcus opened his mouth to argue, then seemed to think better of it. "You know what? Fine. Be weird." But when you're ready to tell me what's actually going on, I'm here." He walked away before Daniel could respond, leaving Daniel alone with his coffee and the uncomfortable feeling that keeping secrets was harder than he'd anticipated. His phone buzzed. "Ava, sorry if that was awkward. Wanted to see you, and that was the only meeting I could justify attending without raising questions." Daniel smiled despite himself and typed back. "It wasn't awkward, though Marcus is suspicious." "Of what?" "That something's different. He doesn't know what, but he knows something. Do you want to tell him?" Daniel thought about it. Marcus was his best friend. Marcus would be supportive, but telling Marcus made it real in a way that scared him. "Not yet." "Is that okay?" "Of course. We move at whatever pace feels right." He put his phone away and tried to get back to work. But concentration was impossible. All he could think about was seeing Ava again. Actually seeing her, not in a meeting, but somewhere they could talk. The week crawled by. They texted constantly, these long, rambling conversations that started about work and ended up somewhere completely different. Ava told him about growing up in Palo Alto, about parents who measured success and outcomes and achievements, about never feeling like she was enough no matter how much she accomplished. Daniel told her about his mom, about growing up poor, about the scholarship that got him into a decent college, and the loans he was still paying off. They didn't talk much about the elephant in the room, the fact that they hadn't seen each other since Thursday, that navigating this was complicated, that every day that passed made the secrecy feel heavier. On Wednesday, Ava had to fly to San Francisco for a board meeting. She texted from the airport lounge. "I hate traveling, hate being away from work, hate living out of hotels, hate small talk with board members who think they understand product development because they read TechCrunch. How long are you gone?" "Back Friday night. Late. Probably won't land until 11. I'll be asleep by then, single dad hours." "I know. I'll text you anyway. You can read it in the morning." Friday night, Daniel put Liam to bed at 8:30 and was asleep himself by 9:15, exhausted from a week of disrupted routines and emotional whiplash. When he woke up at 6 a.m., there were 3 messages from Ava, sent at 11:47 p.m. "Just landed. Exhausted. Meeting went about as well as expected, which is to say it was 3 hours of people who've never built anything telling me how to build things. I kept thinking about what you said last week, about how the people using our products are real, not metrics. One of the board members wanted to cut accessibility features to hit a ship date, and I thought about you in that meeting, making the case for why it mattered. So I said no." He wasn't happy. "Anyway, I miss you. Is that weird to say? We've known each other a few weeks, but I miss talking to you when you're not texting. I miss seeing you get animated about API architecture. I miss the way you talk about Liam like he's the most important thing in the world, because he is. Okay, I'm rambling now. Sleep well." Daniel read the messages twice, something warm settling in his chest. He typed back, "Not weird. I miss you too. And I'm glad you stood up to the board member. Those features matter." Her response came immediately. "You're up early. 3-year-old doesn't believe in sleeping in. You're up early too." "Never went to sleep. Jet lag plus too much coffee on the plane. Bad combination. You should rest." "I should. But I'd rather talk to you. What are you doing today?" Daniel looked at Liam, who was already climbing onto the couch with his elephant. "Daddy, can we have waffles?" Making waffles for Liam. "Then probably the park." Standard Saturday stuff. That sounds nice. Normal. It is normal. I don't think I remember what normal feels like. The message sat there, and Daniel could feel the loneliness in it. Ava Sterling, billionaire CPO, sitting alone in what was probably a beautiful apartment, exhausted and wired and missing something she couldn't name. "You could come to the park with us. If you want." The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "Are you sure?" "I don't want to intrude on your time with Liam. You're not intruding. And I think it's time you two met. If you're ready." "I'm terrified. He's 3. He's not that scary." "Not scared of him?" "Scared of screwing this up." "You won't. Come to the park. 2 p.m., the one near Downtown Crossing. I'll text you the exact location." "Okay. I'll be there." Daniel spent the next few hours second-guessing himself. Was this too soon? Would Liam understand? How did you even explain to a 3-year-old that Daddy's friend was coming to the park? In the end, he kept it simple. We're meeting a friend of mine at the park today. Her name is Ava. Is she nice? Liam asked. Very nice. Does she like dinosaurs? I don't know. You'll have to ask her. They got to the park at 1:45. It was one of those perfect October days, cool but sunny, leaves starting to turn. Liam immediately ran for the swings, and Daniel pushed him, watching the entrance for Ava. She appeared at exactly 2 p.m., wearing jeans and a jacket, her hair in a ponytail. She looked nervous, which was so unlike her that Daniel almost laughed. Hi, she said, walking over. Hi. Liam, this is my friend Ava. Liam twisted in the swing to look at her. Do you like dinosaurs? Ava crouched down to his level. I do? What's your favorite? T-Rex. They have big teeth. Very big teeth. And tiny arms, which I always thought was kind of funny. Liam giggled. Yeah, tiny arms. And just like that, the ice was broken. Liam went back to swinging, and Ava stood next to Daniel watching. He's wonderful, she said quietly. He's showing off a little. He usually doesn't talk to strangers this fast. Maybe I'm not a stranger. They stayed at the park for 2 hours. Ava pushed Liam on the swings, helped him across the monkey bars, sat with him in the sandbox while he built what he insisted was a dinosaur nest. She was careful, Daniel noticed. Not trying too hard, not overwhelming him, just present and patient. When Liam ran off to climb the play structure, Ava sat next to Daniel on a bench. Thank you, she said. For this. For what? For letting me into this part of your life. I know it's not small. It's not. But I wanted you here. She reached over and took his hand, lacing their fingers together. I could get used to this. The park, the simplicity, just being instead of performing. You can come back any time. I might take you up on that. Liam came running back, breathless. Daddy, I'm hungry. Daniel checked his watch. 4:30. Yeah, it's about dinner time. You ready to head home? Can Ava come? Daniel looked at her, raising his eyebrows in question. She nodded. Sure, buddy, if she wants to. I want to, Ava said. They walked back to Daniel's apartment, Liam chattering between them about the park and dinosaurs, and a kid named Tyler who pushed him but then said sorry. Ava listened like it was the most important conversation in the world. At the apartment, Daniel made mac and cheese, Liam's favorite, while Ava sat at the small kitchen table with Liam, who was showing her his collection of toy dinosaurs and explaining each one in detail. This one's a velociraptor. They're really smart. And this one's a triceratops. They have 3 horns, see? I see, that's very cool. Daniel watched them from the stove, something settling in his chest. This was what he'd been afraid of. Not that Ava wouldn't like Liam, but that she would. That Liam would like her back. That if this fell apart, he wouldn't be the only one hurt. But watching Ava genuinely engaged with his son, not patronizing or performing, but actually interested, he thought maybe the risk was worth it. After dinner, Liam started getting sleepy. Daniel did the bath routine while Ava cleaned up the kitchen, which she insisted on doing despite his protests. When Liam was in his pajamas, he came out and climbed onto the couch next to Ava. Will you read me a story? He asked. Ava looked at Daniel, uncertain. He nodded. I'd love to, she said. Liam handed her the book about the bear who couldn't sleep. Ava read it slowly, doing different voices for the characters, and Liam was asleep before she finished. Daniel carried him to bed and came back to find Ava still sitting on the couch, looking at the book in her hands. That was perfect, Daniel said, sitting next to her. He's amazing. You're raising an amazing kid. I'm trying. You're succeeding. She set the book down and turned to face him. Can I tell you something? Always. I've been thinking about this all week. About us, about what we're doing, about whether it's sustainable. And I kept coming back to the same thing. I've never felt this way before. Not about anyone. I don't know if that's because you're different or I'm different or the timing is different. But being here with you and Liam, it feels right in a way nothing else in my life does. Daniel reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I feel it too. I'm scared of messing it up. So am I. But you're still here. So are you. She leaned in and kissed him, soft and tentative. Daniel kissed her back, careful, aware of the open door to Liam's room, aware that this was new territory. When they pulled apart, Ava was smiling. I should go, she said. It's late. You could stay. On the couch? On the couch. She considered it, then shook her head. Not yet. I want to, but not yet. Let's do this right. What's right? Slow, intentional, making sure we're both ready for each step. She stood up and Daniel walked her to the door. Same time next Saturday? Park and dinner? Park and dinner. It's a date. At the door, she kissed him again, longer this time. Good night, Daniel. Good night, Ava. He watched her leave, then closed the door and leaned against it, processing. His phone buzzed almost immediately. I made it to the car. Didn't want you to worry. I wasn't worried, but thank you. Liam is incredible. You're incredible. Today was incredible. You're not so bad yourself. Careful, all this praise might go to my head. Your head's already pretty big, CPO. Wow. Rude. And here I was being romantic. You're terrible at romance. I know. Lucky for me, you don't seem to mind. Daniel smiled and typed back. Lucky for both of us. Monday morning, Daniel arrived at the office to find an email from HR requesting a meeting. His stomach dropped. This was it. Someone had seen them. Someone knew. He was about to be called in and questioned, and this whole thing was about to blow up in his face. He showed up to the HR office at the scheduled time, palms sweating. The HR director, a woman named Patricia who always seemed vaguely concerned about everything, gestured him to sit. Thanks for coming in, Daniel. This won't take long. Okay. We're doing a routine review of team structures now that Ava Sterling has taken over as CPO. As part of that, we're looking at potential conflicts of interest, reporting relationships, that sort of thing. Daniel's heart was pounding. Right. You currently report up through Rachel to the VP of Engineering, who reports to Ava. We're considering some reorganization to flatten the structure. How would you feel about moving to a different team? Still product engineering, just a different focus area. Why would I move? Patricia looked at her notes. No particular reason, just exploring options, but I wanted to gauge your interest before we made any decisions. It wasn't about him and Ava. They didn't know. This was just normal corporate reorganization. Daniel exhaled slowly. I'm happy where I am, he said, but I'm open to discussing other opportunities if it makes sense for the company. Great, I'll keep you posted, Patricia smiled. That's all I needed. Thanks for your time. Daniel left the office feeling like he'd dodged a bullet. But the conversation stuck with him. HR was already looking at reporting structures, thinking about conflicts of interest. Eventually, if this thing with Ava continued, they'd need to disclose. And that meant decisions, transfers, paperwork, making it official. He texted Ava, just had a meeting with HR about potential team reorganization. They don't know about us, but it made me think we should probably talk about disclosure soon. I know, I've been thinking about it too. Can we talk tonight? After Liam's in bed? Yeah, call me around 8:30. The day dragged. Daniel went through the motions, code reviews, stand-up meetings, debugging a production issue, but his mind was elsewhere. By the time he got home with Liam, he was exhausted. Dinner, bath, stories. Liam asked where Ava was. She's not here tonight, buddy. She's working. Can she come back? Yeah, she'll come back. Good. I like her. Me too. At 8:30, after Liam was asleep, Daniel's phone rang. Ava's name on the screen. Hey, he said. Hey, Bon. She sounded tired. How was your day? Long? Yours? Endless. I had back-to-back meetings from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. I think I forgot to eat lunch. Ava. I know, I'm bad at taking care of myself. She paused. We should talk about HR. Yeah. I've been putting it off, telling myself we needed more time to figure out if this was real. But it is real, isn't it? It's real. Then we need to disclose, officially, which means paperwork and questions, and you'll probably have to move teams to eliminate the conflict of interest. Daniel leaned back on the couch. What team? There are a few options. Infrastructure is growing. They could use someone with your skills, or the platform team. Both report through different VPs, so there's no direct line to me. And if I say no? If I want to stay where I am? Silence on the other end. Then we can't do this. I won't compromise the company's integrity, and I won't put you in a position where people question whether your career advancement is based on merit or on who you're dating. So I have to choose my team or you. That's not fair. I'm not making you choose. But that's what it comes down to, isn't it? Daniel was surprised by the frustration in his own voice. I move teams, uproot my work relationships, start over somewhere new, or we end this before it really starts. Daniel, I'm not saying I won't do it. I'm just saying it's not as simple as filling out paperwork. Another pause. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm approaching this like a business problem when it's not. It's your life, your career. It's both our lives. What do you want to do? Daniel closed his eyes, thinking. I want to make this work. I want to be with you. But I need time to process what that means. To talk to Rachel, to understand what moving teams would actually look like. Can we have a week to figure out the logistics before we go to HR? A week works. And Daniel? Yeah? I'm not trying to pressure you. If this is too complicated, if it's asking too much, you can tell me. I'll understand. I know, but I'm not walking away. Not yet. Not yet, she echoed. I'll take that. They talked for another hour. Not about HR or teams or logistics, just about their days, about nothing and everything. By the time they hung up, Daniel felt steadier. But lying in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, the weight of it all pressed down, he'd been so focused on whether he and Ava could work that he hadn't fully processed what being together would cost. Not just emotionally, but practically. New team, new projects, new people to prove himself to. Starting over. And what if it didn't work out? What if they went through all of this, the disclosure, the transfer, the scrutiny, and 6 months from now, they realized they'd made a mistake? His phone buzzed. Ava. Like she could sense his spiral. Stop overthinking. We'll figure it out together. How did you know I was overthinking? Because I am too. But I keep coming back to the same thing. You're worth it. This is worth it. What if we're wrong? Then we're wrong. But at least we tried. Daniel smiled despite himself. You're getting better at this romance thing. I have a good teacher. He fell asleep with his phone in his hand, Ava's words still glowing on the screen. The next few days were a blur of conversations. Daniel talked to Rachel, carefully, feeling out what a team move would look like without explaining why he was asking. She assumed he was just exploring options, told him infrastructure was a great team, that he'd do well there. He talked to Marcus, finally, over beers at a bar near the office. Liam was with Emma, giving him a rare weeknight out. I need to tell you something, Daniel said. Marcus set down his beer. Finally. I'm seeing someone. It's new, and it's complicated, and I haven't told anyone because I needed to figure out what it was first. Okay, who? Daniel took a breath. Ava Sterling. Marcus's eyes went wide. You're joking. I'm not. Ava Sterling, the CPO, the person who is literally your boss's boss's boss. Yeah. Holy shit. Marcus sat back, processing. Okay, how did this happen? No, wait, you told me. The text. The one you sent her by accident. That's how it started. And now? Now we're trying to figure out if we can make it work. Which means I probably need to transfer teams to eliminate the conflict of interest. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Are you sure about this? Not about her, but about the cost. You love your team. You've built relationships there. Starting over somewhere new, that's not nothing. I know. But you're doing it anyway? I think so, yeah. Marcus nodded slowly. Then I support you. But man, this is going to be messy. I know. People are going to talk. They're going to say things about both of you. I know. And you're okay with that? Daniel thought about Ava in his apartment, reading to Liam, about the way she looked at the park, relaxed and happy, about their late-night text and the feeling that someone finally understood him. Yeah, he said. I think I am. They finished their beers, and Marcus walked him to the tea station. For what it's worth, Marcus said, I think you deserve this. You deserve someone who makes you happy. Thanks, man. But if she breaks your heart, billionaire or not, I'm going to have words with her. Daniel laughed. Noted. That Saturday, Ava came to the park again. It was becoming a routine. 2 p.m., the same benches, Liam running between the swings and the slide while they talked. This time, she brought a soccer ball. Thought we could try something different, she said. Liam's eyes lit up. Soccer! I love soccer! They spent an hour kicking the ball around, Ava surprisingly good at it, Liam laughing every time she let him score. Daniel watched them, his chest tight with something that felt dangerously close to happiness. After the park, they went back to Daniel's apartment. Liam was getting more comfortable with Ava, asking her questions, showing her his toys, including her in his world. And Ava was opening up too, less guarded, more present. During dinner, Liam knocked over his juice cup. It went everywhere, across the table, onto the floor, soaking the papers Daniel had left out. Liam! Daniel grabbed paper towels, frustrated. You need to be more careful. Liam's face crumpled. I'm sorry, Daddy. It's okay. Daniel cleaned up the mess, but Liam was already crying, those big, hiccuping sobs that broke his heart. Ava knelt down next to him. Hey, it's all right. Accidents happen. I spilled coffee all over my desk last week and ruined a really important document. Really? Liam sniffled. Really? And you know what? It wasn't the end of the world. We just cleaned it up and moved on. Liam wiped his eyes. Okay. You want to help me finish cleaning this up? Ava asked. He nodded, and together they wiped down the table while Daniel dealt with the papers. Crisis averted. Later, after Liam was in bed, Ava sat on the couch looking exhausted. I panicked when he started crying, she admitted. I had no idea what to do. You did great. I just made it up as I went along. That's parenting, she laughed. This is harder than running a company. Way harder. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Ava said, I talked to HR yesterday. Officially. Told them we needed to discuss a potential conflict of interest. Daniel's heart rate picked up. And? They were professional about it. Asked some questions, explained the process. We need to file disclosure paperwork, and you'll need to move teams. They suggested infrastructure, which I think is a good fit for you. When? We can do the paperwork next week. The team move would happen the following Monday, 2 weeks from now. Fast. It has to be. The longer we wait, the worse it looks. She turned to face him. Are you ready for this? Daniel thought about it, really thought about it. Yeah, I am. People are going to know. Once the paperwork goes through, word will spread. Let them know. Ava smiled. You're sure? I'm sure. She leaned over and kissed him, and this time it was deeper, more certain. When they pulled apart, she was still smiling. 2 weeks, she said, and then we can stop hiding. 2 weeks, Daniel agreed. They filed the paperwork that Wednesday. Patricia from HR handled it with clinical efficiency, explaining the policies, the timelines, the expectations. Daniel signed forms, Ava signed forms, and just like that, they were official. The team move was scheduled for the following Monday. Rachel was disappointed to lose him, but understanding. The infrastructure team was welcoming, excited to have him. Everything was falling into place. But Friday afternoon, Daniel got a Slack message from someone he didn't know. Someone from marketing, 2 levels down, no reason to be messaging him. Heard about you and Sterling. Bold move. Hope it works out. His stomach sank. Then another message from someone in design. Congrats on the promotion. Oh wait, you didn't get promoted. Just sleeping with the boss. My bad. Daniel stared at his screen, feeling sick. It was starting. The gossip, the speculation, the judgment. Exactly what Ava had warned him about. His phone buzzed. Ava, I'm getting messages. Are you? Yeah, I'm sorry. I knew this would happen, but I'm still sorry. It's fine. I can handle it. Can you? Because if this is too much, if it's affecting you or Liam, we can figure something else out. Daniel looked at the messages, at the casual cruelty of people who didn't know him, didn't know them, didn't know anything except gossip. And he thought about walking away, about making it stop. Then he thought about Ava at the park with Liam, about her reading bedtime stories, about the way she looked at him like he was worth all of this. I can handle it. Can you? I've dealt with worse, but I hate that you're dealing with it at all. We knew this would be hard. Knowing and experiencing are different things. Yeah, they are. But I'm not backing out. Are you? No, not unless you want to. I don't. Then we see it through. That night, after Liam was in bed, Daniel sat on the couch and let himself feel the full weight of what they'd started. The scrutiny, the gossip, the judgment, the risk to his reputation, to his career, to the carefully constructed stability he'd built for Liam. But also the possibility, the maybe, the chance that something good could come from something complicated. His phone rang. Ava. "Hey," he said. "I wanted to hear your voice. Make sure you're okay." "I'm okay. Tired, but okay." "Did you get more messages?" "A few. I stopped reading them." "Good. Don't give them the power." She paused. "Daniel, I need you to know something. Whatever happens, whatever people say, you didn't do anything wrong. We didn't do anything wrong. We followed the rules, we disclosed properly, we're handling this the right way." "I know. But knowing and feeling are different." "You said that before." "Because it's true." Her voice softened. "Do you regret it? Any of it?" Daniel thought about the question, about the mess and the complications and the uncertainty, about the gossip and the judgment and the cost. "No," he said. "I don't regret it. Neither do I." They talked until Daniel's eyes started closing, until Ava insisted he get some sleep. And lying in bed that night, Daniel realized something. The gossip hurt. The scrutiny was uncomfortable, but none of it changed how he felt. About Ava, about them, about the risk they were taking. If anything, it made him more certain. Monday morning arrived with the kind of cold rain that made Boston feel particularly miserable. Daniel dropped Liam at daycare, kissed him goodbye, and headed to his first day on the infrastructure team with a knot in his stomach that had nothing to do with the weather. The infrastructure group was on the 4th floor, one level down from his old team. New faces, new desks, new dynamics. His new manager, a guy named Kevin, who looked maybe 25 and spoke in startup buzzwords, gave him the tour. "So this is your space. We do stand-ups at 9:15, retros on Fridays, and we're pretty agile about pivoting when priorities shift. You'll shadow Priya this week to get up to speed on our systems." "Sounds good," Daniel said, trying to sound enthusiastic. Priya turned out to be sharp and no-nonsense, which he appreciated. She walked him through their architecture, the projects in flight, the technical debt they were trying to pay down. It was interesting work, actually more challenging than what he'd been doing, but Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that everyone knew why he was really there. At lunch, he sat alone in the cafeteria, scrolling through his phone. A few people from his old team waved but didn't come over. Marcus texted asking how it was going, and Daniel replied with a non-committal, "Fine." Then his phone buzzed with a message from a number he didn't recognize. "Must be nice to sleep your way into whatever team you want. Some of us actually have to work for our careers." Daniel stared at it, his appetite gone. He deleted the message and blocked the number, but the damage was done. They were coming for him now, not just with gossip, but with direct attacks. His phone buzzed again. Ava this time. "How's day one?" "It's fine. Team seems good." "Just fine?" Daniel hesitated, then decided honesty was better than pretending. "Got an anonymous message. Someone saying I slept my way onto this team." The 3 dots appeared immediately, stayed for a long time. "I'm so sorry. Do you know who sent it?" "No." "Blocked number. Forward it to HR." "That's harassment. It'll just make it worse, make me look like I can't handle it." "You shouldn't have to handle it. This is exactly what the policies are supposed to prevent." Daniel put his phone down, not wanting to have this conversation over text. Around him, the cafeteria buzzed with normal Monday energy, people complaining about their weekends being too short, comparing notes on projects, laughing at inside jokes. He used to be part of that. Now he felt like he was watching from outside. His phone rang. Ava, not texting now but actually calling. Daniel stepped outside into the rain to answer. "Hey, are you okay?" Her voice was tight with concern. "I'm fine." "You're not fine. Someone just attacked you for being with me." "Ava, I knew this would happen. We both did." Knowing it and experiencing it are different things. "Yeah, you've said that." He didn't mean to sound sharp, but it came out that way. "Sorry, I'm just tired." "Don't apologize. I'm the one who should be apologizing. You're dealing with this because of me." I'm dealing with this because I chose to be with you. There's a difference. Silence on her end. Then, can I see you tonight after Liam's in bed? I don't know if that's a good idea. People are already watching. If you come to my place, then meet me somewhere. Anywhere. I just need to see you. Daniel closed his eyes, rain soaking through his jacket. There's a coffee shop near my apartment, Bruno's. I can be there at 8:30. I'll be there. The rest of the day dragged. Daniel focused on work, on learning the new systems, on proving to everyone around him that he deserved to be there. But every time someone looked at him a little too long, every time a conversation stopped when he walked by, he felt the weight of their judgment. At 5 o'clock, he packed up and headed out, one of the first to leave. On his old team, that had been normal. Everyone knew about Liam, knew Daniel kept strict hours. Here, he caught a few glances from people still at their desks, and he wondered if they thought he was getting special treatment. Liam was cranky when Daniel picked him up from daycare, fighting about shoes and then about dinner and then about bath time. By the time he finally fell asleep at 8:15, Daniel was exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with physical tiredness. He texted Emma to see if she could come over for an hour. She arrived 10 minutes later with her laptop, settling onto the couch to study while Daniel changed into clean clothes and tried to shake off the day. Hot date? Emma asked, not looking up from her screen. Coffee with a friend. Must be a good friend for you to go out on a Monday night. Daniel didn't respond, just grabbed his jacket and headed out into the rain. Bruno's was a small place tucked between a dry cleaner and a convenience store, the kind of neighborhood spot that served decent coffee and minded its own business. Ava was already there when he arrived, sitting in a corner booth, her hair damp from the rain. Hi, she said as he slid in across from her. Hi. She'd already ordered him coffee, black the way he liked it. The small gesture made his chest tight. Tell me about your day, Ava said. All of it. So he did. The awkward introduction to the new team, the feeling of starting over, the anonymous message, the sense that everyone was watching and waiting for him to fail. Ava listened without interrupting, her face getting tighter with each detail. I hate this, she said when he finished. I hate that you're going through this. It's not your fault. It is, though. If we weren't together, I'd still be on my old team doing work that didn't challenge me, going home alone every night, convincing myself that safe was the same as happy. Daniel reached across the table and took her hand. I don't regret this. I need you to hear that. I hear it. I just don't know if I believe you should feel that way. Why not? Because you're paying a price I'm not. People aren't sending me anonymous messages. They're not questioning my qualifications or my integrity. They're just gossiping, which I can ignore. But you're dealing with real professional consequences. So are you, Daniel pointed out. Every decision you make about product development, people will question if it's because of me. That's not nothing. Ava pulled her hand back, wrapped it around her coffee cup. I had a meeting today with the executive team. Someone made a comment about whether my judgment was compromised, about whether I could be objective about product decisions when I'm personally involved with an engineer. What did you say? I told them my personal life was none of their business, and if they had concerns about my professional judgment, they should evaluate my work, not my relationships. How'd that go over? About as well as you'd expect. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. The CEO pulled me aside after, said he supports me, but I need to be aware of the optics. That as the only woman in executive leadership, I'm already under a microscope. That's not fair. No, it's not. But it's reality. Ava looked at him, and there was something vulnerable in her expression. I knew this job would be hard. I knew I'd have to work twice as hard as any man in my position to be taken half as seriously. But I thought if I just kept my head down, delivered results, played by the rules, eventually I'd earn enough credibility that people would judge me on merit alone. And then I met you, and I realized I was tired of playing it safe, tired of letting fear dictate my choices. So what do? We keep going. We don't let them win. She leaned forward. But I need you to promise me something. If this gets too hard, if it starts affecting Liam or your career in ways you can't recover from, you'll tell me. We'll figure something else out. What's something else? I don't know. But I'm not going to let you sacrifice everything for this if it's not worth it. Daniel looked at her, really looked at her, at the dark circles under her eyes, the tension in her shoulders, the way she was holding herself together through sheer force of will. She was just as scared as he was, just as uncertain, but she was here anyway. It's worth it, he said quietly. You're worth it. You keep saying that. Because it's true. They sat there for a while, drinking coffee, not talking, just being. The coffee shop was nearly empty, just them and an older couple in the corner, and the barista wiping down tables. Outside, the rain had eased to a drizzle. I should get back, Daniel said eventually. Emma's with Liam. I know. Ava stood up when he did, and they walked to the door together. Outside, under the awning, she turned to face him. Can I ask you something? Always? When you think about us, about where this is going, what do you see? Daniel considered the question. Honestly, I try not to think that far ahead. It's too overwhelming. I just focus on the next thing, next coffee, next park visit, next conversation. That's probably smarter than what I do. What do you do? I run scenarios. Best case, worst case, most likely case. I map out contingencies and backup plans and exit strategies. I try to control every variable so nothing surprises me. She smiled self-consciously. I'm working on letting go of that. How's that going? Terrible. But I'm trying. Daniel kissed her, there under the awning with the rain falling around them and Bruno's neon sign flickering overhead. When they pulled apart, Ava was smiling for real this time. Go home to Liam, she said. Text me when you're back safe. I will. He walked the 3 blocks home, collar turned up against the drizzle, thinking about scenarios and variables and control. Thinking about how different his life had become in just a few weeks, and how strange it was that chaos could feel this much like hope. The next few weeks developed a rhythm, though rhythm might have been too generous a word for the constant adjustment they were both making. Daniel settled into the infrastructure team, proving himself through steady work and quiet competence. The anonymous messages continued sporadically, nothing threatening, just petty jabs about his relationship, his qualifications, his motives. He stopped reading them, just deleted and blocked, trying not to let them burrow under his skin. Ava dealt with her own version of scrutiny. Every product decision was questioned. Every meeting ran longer because someone wanted to make sure she wasn't showing favoritism. She came to the park on Saturdays looking more tired each week, the weight of it showing in the set of her shoulders, the tightness around her eyes. But they showed up anyway. For each other, for Liam, for the possibility that this might actually work. Liam, oblivious to the politics and gossip, had decided Ava was a permanent fixture in his life. He asked about her during the week, saved drawings to show her, requested her presence at dinner with the casual assumption of a 3-year-old who didn't understand that adults were complicated. Is Ava coming this Saturday? What? He asked one Thursday night during bath time. I think so. Why? I want to show her my painting from school. It's a rocket ship. I'm sure she'd love to see it. Do you love Ava, Daddy? The question came out of nowhere, casual, as asking about the weather. Daniel froze, washcloth in hand. Where did that come from? Tyler's mommy said people who see each other a lot are in love. We see Ava a lot. Daniel chose his words carefully. I care about Ava very much, and I like spending time with her. Does that bother you? Liam considered this, making a mountain of bubbles with his hands. No? I like her too. She's good at soccer. She is good at soccer. If you love her, will she live here? I don't know, buddy. We're not there yet. But would that be okay with you, if eventually she did? Would she have her own room or sleep in your room? Probably my room, eventually. But that's a long way away. For now, things stay just like they are. Okay. Liam went back to his bubbles, crisis averted with the resilience of a child who hadn't learned yet that the world was complicated. But Daniel sat there after Liam was in bed, turning the conversation over in his mind. Did he love Ava? They'd been seeing each other for 2 months, and most of that had been navigating logistics and managing fallout. They'd barely had time to just exist together without the weight of everything else. His phone buzzed. Ava, can't sleep. Mind if I call? Go ahead. She called immediately. Hi. Hi. What's keeping you up? The usual. Work stress, anxiety about whether I'm destroying your life, general existential dread. You? Liam asked if I love you. Silence. Then, what did you say? I said I care about you very much, which is true, but also a complete non-answer. That's fair. It's a big question. Yeah. Daniel leaned back on the couch. What would you have said if he'd asked you? More silence. Daniel could hear her breathing, could picture her in whatever expensive apartment she lived in, probably pacing, probably overthinking. I don't know, she finally said. I've never been in love before. Not real love. So I don't have a reference point. Never? Never. I've dated, obviously, but it was always surface level. People who wanted the idea of me more than the reality. Or people I kept at arm's length because letting them closer felt dangerous. And this? Us? This is different. This feels like standing at the edge of something terrifying and wonderful, and I don't know if I'm supposed to jump or run. Daniel understood that feeling. For what it's worth, I'm standing at the same edge. Yeah? Yeah. They talked until 2 a.m. about fear and risk and what it meant to trust someone, about their childhoods and their scars and the ways they'd both learned to protect themselves. When Daniel finally fell asleep, phone still in his hand, he felt like he understood Ava better than he ever had. Saturday arrived with clear skies and crisp November air. Ava showed up at the park with hot chocolate for all of them, which made Liam's entire day. You brought chocolate, he shouted, running over. I did. Is that okay? It's the best. They found their usual bench while Liam ran off to play. Ava looked better today, less exhausted, though Daniel noticed she kept checking her phone. Everything okay? He asked. Just waiting for an email. We're finalizing a partnership deal, and the other company's lawyers are being difficult. On a Saturday? Welcome to my life. She put her phone away deliberately. But I'm not dealing with it right now. Right now, I'm here. They watched Liam climb the play structure, fearless and fast. A couple walked by with a baby in a stroller, and Daniel saw Ava watching them with an expression he couldn't quite read. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Do you want more kids? I know you have Liam, but I haven't really thought about it, Daniel admitted. After everything with my ex, I was just focused on surviving, on being enough for Liam. I never let myself think about more. But if you did think about it, I don't know. Maybe? Why? Ava looked down at her hot chocolate. I'm 30. Everyone I grew up with is having babies now, and I'm just watching from the outside. And I've always told myself I didn't want that I was focused on my career, that kids didn't fit into my life plan. But lately I've been wondering if I told myself that because it felt safer than admitting I might want something I wasn't sure I could have. Because of work? Because of everything. Work, fear, not knowing if I'd be any good at it. She glanced at Liam. But watching you with him, seeing how patient you are, how you just show up every day and do the hard work of being a parent, it makes me think maybe I could learn. Daniel reached over and took her hand. You're already learning every Saturday, every dinner, every time Liam shows you a drawing, and you genuinely care about his story, you're learning. Is it weird that I'm bringing this up? We've only been together a few months. I don't think anything about us has been typical. Ava laughed. That's true. She looked at him, something searching in her gaze. I know we're taking this slow. I know we're being careful, but I need to know if you see a future here. Not the details, just, is there a version of this that doesn't end? Yes, Daniel said without hesitation. I don't know what it looks like exactly, but yes, there's a version of this that doesn't end. She smiled, and the relief in it was palpable. Okay, that's enough for now. Liam ran back over, demanding they come watch him go down the slide. They spent the next hour playing, pushing him on swings, helping him across the monkey bars. And Daniel noticed something shifting between him and Ava, something settling into place. They were moving from uncertainty towards something more solid, more real. That evening, Ava stayed for dinner again. While Daniel cooked, she and Liam worked on a puzzle at the kitchen table, Liam narrating every piece he placed. This one is blue. It goes in the sky. This one is green. That's the grass. Do you like puzzles, Ava? I do, though I'm not as good at them as you are. That's okay. You can practice. After dinner, during Liam's bath, Daniel's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Hello? Is this Daniel Brooks? A woman's voice. Unfamiliar. Yes? This is Jennifer Huang from the Boston Business Journal. I'm writing a piece about Ava Sterling's first quarter as CPO, and I heard you two are in a relationship. Would you be willing to comment? Daniel's blood went cold. No comment. I understand this is sensitive, but the story is running either way. It would be better if... He hung up. Immediately called Ava. Hey, what's... A reporter just called me. Boston Business Journal. They're writing about you and asking about us. Shit. He heard her moving, footsteps. What did you say? No comment. Then I hung up. Good. Okay. Let me call our PR team, see if we can get ahead of this. Ava, what if they print something? What if this becomes a story? Then it becomes a story. We deal with it. But he could hear the stress in her voice, the barely controlled panic. I'm sorry. I should have anticipated this. Sterling family drama always makes good copy. You're not your family. To them, I'm just the next generation of scandal. Young billionaire CEO dating an employee. That's exactly the kind of thing they eat up. Daniel sat down on the couch, suddenly exhausted. What do we do? We say nothing. We don't confirm, don't deny, don't engage, and we hope it blows over fast. But it didn't blow over. The article ran Monday morning, and while it wasn't as sensational as it could have been, it was bad enough. It framed their relationship as a potential conflict of interest, questioned whether Ava's judgment was compromised, implied that Daniel's career trajectory might be influenced by their involvement. It didn't say anything technically false, but the insinuation was clear. This was messy and inappropriate and problematic. Daniel arrived at work to find people staring at their screens, clearly reading the article. A few looked up when he walked by, but most pretended not to notice him. He made it to his desk and pulled up the piece himself, forcing himself to read every word. Marcus appeared at his desk before he finished. You okay? No. Yeah, I wouldn't be either. That's rough. They made it sound like we're breaking some rule, like we did something wrong. You didn't. But that doesn't mean people won't assume the worst. Marcus sat on the edge of Daniel's desk. How's Ava handling it? I don't know. Haven't talked to her since last night. Daniel checked his phone. No messages. She's probably in damage control mode. Probably, Marcus hesitated. Look, I know this sucks, but you've got people who support you. Me, Rachel, most of your old team. Don't let the assholes make you think you're alone in this. Thanks, man. After Marcus left, Daniel tried to focus on work, but it was impossible. His phone kept buzzing with notifications, news alerts, messages from acquaintances he hadn't heard from in months, suddenly very interested in his personal life, more anonymous attacks. At lunch, Kevin pulled him into a conference room. Hey, just want to check in, Kevin said, trying for casual and missing. That article this morning, pretty intense. It's fine. The team's a little distracted. Some people are asking questions. Daniel's jaw tightened. What kind of questions? Just whether this affects anything. Your role here, team dynamics, that sort of thing. It doesn't. I'm here to do my job, same as everyone else. Right, I know that. Just wanted to make sure you're okay. I'm fine. But he wasn't fine. He was angry and hurt and tired of having to justify himself. He got through the rest of the day on autopilot, left at 5 sharp, and picked up Liam from daycare with a headache blooming behind his eyes. Are you sad, Daddy? Liam asked on the walk home. Just tired, buddy. Did you have a bad day? Yeah, but it's better now that I'm with you. That night, after Liam was asleep, Ava called. I'm so sorry, she said immediately, about the article, about all of it. It's not your fault. It is, though. My name, my family, my position, that's what makes this news. If I were anyone else, If you were anyone else, I wouldn't be interested, Daniel interrupted. Stop apologizing for who you are. People are saying things about both of us. I know, I'm living it too, remember? I don't know how to fix this. Daniel closed his eyes, leaning back on the couch. Maybe you can't. Maybe we just have to ride it out. That's not acceptable. Why not? Because you're suffering. Your career is being affected. People are judging you. And people are judging you too. So what? We knew this would be hard. Us knowing and experiencing are different things. I know. Daniel took a breath. Ava, we can't control what people say or what they think. All we can control is how we respond. And I'm choosing to keep showing up, to keep doing my job well, to keep seeing you, unless you want something different. Silence. Then quietly, I don't want something different. I want you, I just hate the cost. So do I. But I've decided it's worth it. Even after today? Especially after today. He could hear her breathing on the other end, could feel the weight of everything she wasn't saying. Okay, she finally said. Then we keep going. Together. Together. They talked for another hour, and by the time they hung up, Daniel felt steadier. The article would fade, the gossip would die down. They just had to outlast it. But the next morning, he arrived at work to find an email from HR requesting another meeting. His stomach sank as he read the subject line. Follow-up regarding workplace relationship disclosure. Patricia looked more serious than usual when he sat down in her office. Daniel, thanks for coming in. I'll get straight to it. In light of recent publicity around your relationship with Ms. Sterling, we need to have a conversation about perception and team dynamics. What kind of conversation? Some team members have expressed discomfort. They're concerned about whether your relationship with the CPO creates an unfair advantage or whether decisions made by Ms. Sterling's office might be influenced by your relationship. We disclosed everything properly. I transferred teams specifically to avoid conflicts of interest. I know, and you followed all the rules, but perception matters, especially when it becomes public. Patricia folded her hands on her desk. We're not asking you to end the relationship, but we do need to be mindful of how this affects the broader team culture. What are you asking then? I'm asking if you've considered whether this is sustainable, whether the scrutiny and stress are worth it. Daniel stared at her. You're asking me to break up with her. I'm asking you to consider all your options. No. He stood up. No, I'm not doing this. I followed every policy. I did everything right. And now you're asking me to end a relationship because other people are uncomfortable? That's not reasonable. Daniel, are you asking Ava the same question? Are you in her office right now, suggesting she consider whether I'm worth the trouble? Patricia looked uncomfortable. Ms. Sterling's situation is different. Because she's the CPO? Because she's a billionaire? Or because she's a woman and gets held to different standards? That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying? Patricia sighed. I'm saying this is complicated, and I'm trying to find a solution that works for everyone. The solution is for people to mind their own business and let us do our jobs. Daniel headed for the door. If there's a performance issue with my work, document it. If there's an actual policy violation, tell me what it is. But don't call me in here to suggest I ruin my personal life to make other people more comfortable. He walked out before she could respond, adrenaline making his hands shake. He made it back to his desk and sat down, trying to steady his breathing. His phone buzzed. Ava, HR just called me. I'm assuming they talked to you too? Yeah. What did you say? I told them no. We're not doing anything wrong, and I'm not ending this because people are gossiping. You're sure? Because if this is too much, I'm sure. Are you? A longer pause this time. Yes, I'm sure. But we need to talk. Can you come to my office? When? Now. Daniel grabbed his laptop and headed to the 5th floor, bypassing Ava's assistant with a nod and walking straight into her office. She was standing by the window, arms crossed, looking tense. Close the door, she said. He did. They want me to end this, Ava said without preamble. Not officially, of course. They're too smart for that. But the CEO pulled me aside this morning and strongly suggested that this relationship is becoming a distraction, and maybe I should consider whether it's worth the professional cost. What did you tell him? I told him my personal life is my business, and as long as I'm delivering results, he doesn't get a vote. She turned to face Daniel. But he's not wrong about the distraction. This is affecting morale, it's affecting perception of my leadership, and it's affecting you in ways that aren't fair. So what do you want to do? I want to fight back. I want to make it clear that we're not backing down, that we're not going to let office politics dictate our lives. She walked over to him. But I need to know you're with me. Because if we do this, if we really push back, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Daniel looked at her, at the determination in her eyes, the set of her jaw, the way she was holding herself like someone preparing for battle. And he realized something. This wasn't just about them anymore. This was about whether they were going to let fear and judgment win. "I'm with you," he said. "You're sure?" "I'm sure." Ava nodded, something settling in her expression. "Okay, then here's what we do. We stop hiding. We stop pretending this is something to be ashamed of. We show up together, we're professional but honest, and we dare anyone to say we're not doing our jobs well. That's your plan? Just be visible?" It's the only plan that doesn't involve us compromising who we are. She reached for his hand. "I'm tired of apologizing for wanting something, for wanting you. So we stop apologizing and we start living like we mean it." Daniel squeezed her hand. "Okay, let's do it." They started small. The following Monday, Ava came down to the 4th floor during lunch and sat with Daniel in the cafeteria. Nothing dramatic, just two people eating together. But in the context of everything that had happened, it felt like a declaration. People noticed. Of course they noticed. Daniel could feel eyes on them from every corner of the room, could hear the shift in conversation volume as they walked past tables. But Ava acted like it was the most natural thing in the world, asking him about his weekend with Liam, listening to his story about the aquarium trip with genuine interest. "He's obsessed with octopuses now," Daniel said. "Keeps asking me how many arms they have." 8, Ava said, though technically they're called arms, not tentacles. Common misconception. "How do you know that?" "I read a lot of random things when I can't sleep. Marine biology at 2 a.m. is surprisingly soothing." Marcus walked by their table, did a double take, then gave Daniel a subtle thumbs up before continuing to his seat. A few other people from Daniel's old team waved, but most just stared, trying to look like they weren't staring. "This is weird," Daniel muttered. "It'll get less weird. People will adjust." Ava took a bite of her salad, completely unfazed. "How's the infrastructure work going?" "It's good, actually. We're redesigning the entire data pipeline. It's more complex than what I was doing before." "I saw the proposal. Priya's brilliant." "She is. She's been really patient with me getting up to speed." They finished lunch and Ava walked back upstairs, leaving Daniel to face the inevitable questions. Marcus was the first to approach. "So that just happened," Marcus said, sitting down. "Yeah. Bold move, both of you." "We're done hiding." "I can see that." Marcus glanced around. "People are going to talk even more now." "Let them talk. We're not doing anything wrong." "I know that, but Daniel, you need to be prepared. This is going to get messy before it gets better." "It's already messy." "It can get messier." Daniel appreciated the concern, but he was tired of being careful, tired of apologizing for existing. "I'll deal with it." The rest of the week followed the same pattern. Ava made herself visible in ways she hadn't before, stopping by the infrastructure team's stand-up, having coffee in the cafeteria during peak hours, leaving the building at the same time as Daniel a few evenings. They weren't hiding anymore, but they weren't making a spectacle either. Just existing in the same space, refusing to pretend their relationship was something to be ashamed of. The gossip intensified predictably. But something else started happening too. A few people approached Daniel privately to say they supported him. A woman from design told him she thought it was brave. Someone from sales said his wife had been following the story and was rooting for them. Small gestures, but they mattered. On Friday, Daniel had a one-on-one with Kevin. "How are you settling in?" Kevin asked, his usual buzzwords absent. "Good. The work is interesting. I've been impressed with what you've delivered so far. The pipeline redesign is solid." Kevin paused. "Look, I know this week has been weird. The whole cafeteria thing, people talking. I just want you to know that from my perspective, your personal life is your business. What I care about is your work, and your work is excellent." Daniel felt something loosen in his chest. "Thanks, that means a lot. Just keep doing what you're doing. The rest will sort itself out." That Saturday, Ava showed up at the park with a kite. "Where did you get that?" Daniel asked. "Store near my apartment. I thought Liam might like it." Liam's eyes went wide. "A kite? Can we fly it?" "That's the plan," Ava said. They spent the afternoon trying to get the thing airborne, which turned out to be harder than expected. The wind kept shifting, the string kept tangling, and Liam kept running in circles trying to make it work through sheer enthusiasm. But eventually, they got it up, and watching Liam's face light up as the kite soared made every frustrating minute worth it. "You're good with him," Daniel said, standing next to Ava while Liam ran around holding the string. "I'm learning. He's a good teacher. He talks about you during the week, asks when you're coming over." Ava smiled, but there was something uncertain in it. "Is that okay? I don't want to overstep." "You're not overstepping. He likes having you around, so do I." "I like being around." She watched Liam for a moment, then said quietly, "I've been thinking about what we talked about the future." "Yeah? I want this to work, not just the relationship, but everything. I want to be part of your life in a real way. Part of Liam's life. And I know I don't have a manual for how to do that, but I want to try." Daniel took her hand. "You're already doing it." "It doesn't feel like enough." "It's more than enough." They stayed at the park until the sun started setting, then headed back to Daniel's apartment for dinner. Ava was getting comfortable in his space now, knew where the plates were, knew Liam's preferences, could navigate the evening routine without constant instruction. While Daniel cooked, his phone rang. Unknown number again. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "Hello? Mr. Brooks? This is Angela Reeves from Channel 7 News. We're doing a segment on workplace relationships in tech, and..." Daniel hung up. Immediately his phone buzzed with a text from the same number. "We'd really like to get your perspective. We're trying to be fair to both sides of this story." He blocked the number and set his phone face down on the counter. "Another reporter?" Ava asked. "Yeah, TV this time." "I'm sorry, my PR team was supposed to shut this down." "It's fine, I just won't answer." But it wasn't fine, and they both knew it. The media attention was escalating instead of dying down, and Daniel was starting to feel hunted. That night after Liam was in bed, Ava didn't leave right away. She sat on the couch looking exhausted, her usual composure cracking. "I didn't think it would be this hard," she admitted. "I knew there would be challenges, but I thought if we just did everything right, followed all the rules, eventually people would move on. People love drama more than they love rules." "I know, but it's affecting you more than me, and I hate that. It's affecting both of us." "Not equally." Ava turned to face him. "I have money, status, a safety net. If this all blows up, I'll be fine. But you have Liam to think about. Your career, your stability, and I keep wondering if I'm being selfish asking you to weather this with me." "You're not asking. I'm choosing. But should you be? What if in 6 months you look back and realize this wasn't worth it?" Daniel reached over and took her face in his hands, making her look at him. "Stop. Stop catastrophizing and trying to protect me from my own decisions. I'm an adult. I know the risks, and I'm still here." "Why?" "Because you make me happy. Because Liam lights up when you walk in the room. Because for the first time in 3 years, I feel like I'm living instead of just surviving." He leaned his forehead against hers. "Because I'm in love with you." The words were out before he could second-guess them. Ava went very still. "You love me?" "Yeah, I do." "Since when?" "I don't know. Somewhere between the park and the puzzles and the late-night phone calls. It kind of snuck up on me." Ava pulled back to look at him, her eyes shining. "I love you too. I think I have for a while, but I was scared to say it. Scared it would make everything more complicated. Everything's already complicated." "That's true." She kissed him, soft and certain. "I love you." "I love you too." They sat there for a while, holding each other, and for the first time in weeks, Daniel felt like they might actually make it through this. The following week brought a new development. Daniel was in a meeting when his phone lit up with an emergency notification from his ex-wife. She rarely contacted him, had signed away her parental rights 2 years ago, and never looked back. Seeing her name made his stomach drop. He excused himself from the meeting and called her back. "What's wrong? Is something wrong with Liam?" "Liam's fine. I'm calling because I saw the news about you and that billionaire." Daniel's blood ran cold. "What about it?" "Just wanted to make sure you're being responsible. That you're not exposing our son to unstable situations." "Our son?" You haven't seen him in 2 years. I'm still his mother. No, you're not. You gave that up when you walked out. Daniel tried to keep his voice level. Why are you really calling? I'm concerned. The articles make it sound like you're involved in some kind of scandal. There's no scandal. I'm in a relationship with someone I work with. We disclosed it properly, followed all the rules. It's none of your business. It is if it affects Liam. It doesn't. Liam is happy and healthy and has no idea there's any controversy. And if you were actually concerned about him, you would have called before you saw us in the news. She was quiet for a moment. I could petition for custody if I thought he was in an unsafe environment. Daniel's heart started racing. You wouldn't. I might, if I thought it was necessary. You don't want him. You never wanted him. This is about money, isn't it? You saw that Ava's a billionaire and you thought you could get something out of this. I want what's best for my son. Your son. Now he's your son. Daniel was shaking with anger. You know what? Do it. Petition for custody. Any judge will see you abandoned him as an infant and haven't contacted him since. You have no case. But go ahead and try, and we'll see how that works out for you. He hung up before she could respond. His hands were trembling. The thought of her trying to take Liam, even with no real chance of success, made him physically ill. He texted Ava. Need to talk. My ex just called threatening custody because of the news coverage. Her response came immediately. What? Is she serious? I don't know. Maybe just trying to scare me. Can I call you later? Call me now. I'm between meetings. He called, and she answered on the first ring. Tell me everything, she said. Daniel walked her through the conversation, his voice tight with stress. When he finished, Ava was quiet for a moment. She has no grounds, Ava finally said. From what you've told me, she has no parental rights and no involvement in his life. She's posturing. But what if she's not? What if she actually files something? Then we deal with it. I'll get you the best family lawyer in Boston. We'll document everything, her abandonment, your exemplary parenting, the stable home you've provided. She won't get anywhere near Liam. This is because of me, because of us. If we weren't together, stop. This is because your ex is seeing dollar signs and trying to capitalize on media attention. That's not on you, and it's not on us. Daniel leaned against the wall, trying to steady his breathing. Can't lose him, Ava. He's everything. You won't lose him, I promise you. We will not let that happen. The certainty in her voice helped. Daniel closed his eyes. Okay. I'm going to make some calls. In the meantime, document everything. Every interaction with her, every text, every call. And don't engage with her again without a lawyer present. All right? Daniel? Yeah? We're going to get through this. All of it. The gossip, the media, your ex. We're going to get through it because we're not doing this alone anymore. You understand that? I understand. After they hung up, Daniel went back to his meeting, but he couldn't focus. All he could think about was Liam, about the possibility of losing him, about how quickly everything could fall apart. That evening, he held Liam a little tighter during their bedtime routine. You okay, Daddy? Liam asked, picking up on his mood. Yeah, buddy. Just had a long day. Is Ava coming tomorrow? I don't think so. She has to work. But she'll come back? She'll come back. Good. I like when she's here. Me too. After Liam fell asleep, Daniel sat on the couch and let himself feel the weight of everything. The scrutiny, the gossip, the professional consequences, and now this, the threat of his ex trying to take Liam. It was too much. All of it was too much. His phone rang. Ava. I talked to my lawyer, she said without preamble. She's the best in the state for family law. She said, based on what you told me, your ex has essentially no case, but we should still be proactive. She wants to meet with you Monday to go over everything. How much is this going to cost? Nothing. It's handled. Ava, I can't let you, but you're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing to help because I care about you and Liam, and I have resources that can solve this problem. Let me use them. Daniel wanted to argue, wanted to insist on handling it himself, but the truth was he couldn't afford a top family lawyer, and his ex knew that. She was counting on him not being able to fight back. Thank you, he said quietly. You don't have to thank me. We're in this together, remember? Together. They talked for another hour, Ava walking him through the strategy, explaining what would happen if his ex actually filed something. By the time they hung up, Daniel felt steadier, less like he was drowning. Monday's meeting with the lawyer, a sharp woman named Catherine, who had Ava's same no-nonsense energy, confirmed what Ava had said. Daniel's ex had no grounds. Any petition would be dismissed quickly, and if she continued harassing him, they could get a restraining order. But she contacted you because of media coverage about your relationship, Catherine asked. Yes. Then we need to be strategic about managing that coverage. The more ammunition she has to paint your life as unstable, the more she can justify trying to intervene. What does that mean? Catherine looked at Ava, who was sitting next to Daniel in the meeting. It means you two need to present a united, stable front. No more surprise media stories. No more anonymous gossip. You control the narrative before someone else does. How do we do that? Daniel asked. You could do an interview. Something where you tell your story on your terms. Humanize yourselves. Make it clear that this is a serious relationship, not a scandal. Daniel looked at Ava. Would that help? It might. Or it might make things worse. Depends on the outlet, the interviewer, how it's framed. But if it protects Liam, then we do it, Ava finished. Let me talk to my PR team. We'll find the right platform. 2 weeks later, they sat down for an interview with a respected tech journalist, someone Ava's team had vetted carefully. The interview took place in a neutral location, a conference room in a hotel, and the journalist was professional but direct. So let's address the elephant in the room, she started. You're a billionaire CPO. Daniel, you're a senior engineer who reported up through her division. How do you respond to people who say this relationship is inappropriate? Ava spoke first. We followed every company policy. Daniel transferred to a different division to eliminate any conflict of interest. We disclosed the relationship to HR immediately. We've been transparent about everything. But the power dynamic still exists, the journalist pressed. It does, Ava acknowledged. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. But we're both adults who made informed choices. I'm not Daniel's direct manager. I don't oversee his performance reviews or compensation decisions. And frankly, the scrutiny we've faced has been more about my position as a woman in leadership than about any actual policy violations. How so? Because when male executives date employees, even direct reports, it's treated as a private matter. But when a woman in power dates someone at the company, suddenly it's a judgment issue, a question of whether she can be objective, whether she's compromising her authority. The journalist turned to Daniel. What's your perspective on this? Daniel had practiced this answer, but sitting there under lights with a camera pointed at him, the words felt inadequate. I never expected to fall for someone like Ava. I kept my head down, did my work, focused on being a good father. But then I met her. And she saw me as a person, not just an employee. She cared about what I thought, valued my input. And yeah, she's brilliant and successful and intimidating. But she's also kind and funny and shows up for the people she cares about. So when people ask if this is inappropriate, I think, why? Because we work at the same company? Because she makes more money than me? None of that changes that we're two people who fell in love. You're a single father, the journalist said. How does that factor in? It's the most important factor. Everything I do, I think about how it affects my son. And bringing Ava into our lives, that wasn't a decision I made lightly, but she's been incredible with him, patient, engaged, genuinely interested in his world. She's not trying to be his mother. He has a father who's present and involved. But she's becoming someone important in his life, and I'm grateful for that. There's been speculation that your ex-wife is considering custody proceedings. Can you comment on that? Daniel glanced at Catherine, who gave a slight nod. My ex hasn't been involved in my son's life for years. She voluntarily gave up custody and hasn't reached out until we started getting media attention. If she tries to use this relationship as grounds to question my parenting, any court will see it for what it is, an opportunistic attempt to capitalize on publicity. The interview continued for another 30 minutes, covering their relationship timeline, the company's policies, their future plans. By the end, Daniel felt wrung out. How did that go? He asked Ava when they were alone. You were perfect. I felt like I was fumbling the whole time. You were honest. That's what mattered. She took his hand. Whatever happens, we did this on our terms. The interview ran the following week, and the response was mixed. Some people saw it as a humanizing look at a complicated situation. Others thought it was a PR stunt. The gossip continued, but its tone shifted. Less scandalous, more curious. And slowly, incrementally, things started to settle. People at work stopped staring quite as much. The anonymous messages slowed down. Daniel's ex never followed through on her custody threat, likely realizing she had no case. 3 months after the interview, Daniel was working at his desk when Kevin stopped by. "Got a minute?" Kevin asked. "Sure." They walked to a conference room and Kevin closed the door. "I wanted to give you a heads up. We're doing performance reviews next week, and I wanted you to know your review is exceptional. Best on the team, actually." Daniel felt something loosen in his chest. "Really? Really? Your work on the pipeline redesign was outstanding. You've integrated well with the team. You're mentoring junior engineers. From a performance standpoint, you've exceeded expectations across the board. Thank you. I know this hasn't been easy, the team transfer, the public scrutiny, all of it, but you've handled it professionally and your work hasn't suffered. That matters." After Kevin left, Daniel sat in the conference room for a moment, letting it sink in. He'd done it. He'd proven that he could deliver excellent work regardless of the drama surrounding his personal life. He'd earned his place on merit. He texted Ava, "Just got my performance review. Kevin said it's the best on the team." "Of course it is. I could have told you that. You're biased. Doesn't make me wrong. I'm proud of you." "Thanks. Dinner tonight to celebrate?" "Always." That Saturday at the park, Daniel watched Ava push Liam on the swings and realized something had shifted. They weren't constantly bracing for the next crisis anymore. They were just living, building something real out of the chaos. "Higher!" Liam shouted. "You sure?" Ava called back. "Higher!" She pushed harder and Liam squealed with delight. Daniel pulled out his phone and took a picture. Liam mid-swing, Ava laughing, the afternoon sun catching them both just right. Later, walking home, Liam took Ava's hand on one side and Daniel's on the other, swinging between them. "This is nice," Liam announced. "What's nice, buddy?" Daniel asked. "All of us together. We're like a family." Daniel glanced at Ava over Liam's head. She was smiling, that genuine smile that transformed her whole face. "Yeah," Daniel said. "We are." That night, after Liam was asleep, Ava didn't leave. She stayed on the couch with Daniel, her head on his shoulder, both of them too tired to talk but not wanting to be apart. "I've been thinking," she said eventually. About? About what comes next. For us." "What comes next?" "I don't know exactly, but I know I want to keep building this. Whatever this is." Daniel kissed the top of her head. "Me too. Even if it stays complicated? Even then." They fell asleep there on the couch, wrapped around each other. And when Daniel woke up a few hours later to carry Ava to his bed, he realized this was what he'd been searching for without knowing it. Not perfection, not ease, but partnership. Someone who showed up even when it was hard. Someone who chose him over and over, despite everything. The next morning, Liam found them both in the kitchen making breakfast. "Ava stayed over," he said, delighted. "I did," Ava confirmed. "Is that okay?" "It's great. Can you stay over more?" "We'll see," Daniel said, but he caught Ava's eye and saw the same possibility reflected back. Maybe she could stay over more. Maybe they were ready for that step. After breakfast, Ava had to leave for a board meeting. At the door, she kissed Daniel goodbye, then crouched down to Liam's level. "I'll see you next Saturday, okay? Promise?" "Promise." "Okay, bye, Ava." After she left, Daniel and Liam spent the day doing laundry and grocery shopping, normal Sunday tasks. But everything felt different now. Lighter. Like they'd weathered the storm and come out stronger on the other side. That evening, his phone rang. Marcus. "Hey man, want to grab a beer this week?" "Yeah, that'd be good." "Cool, and Daniel?" "Yeah? I'm happy for you. You seem happy. That's all I wanted to say." Daniel smiled. "Thanks, Marcus. I am happy." And he was. Despite everything, the gossip, the scrutiny, the professional challenges, he was genuinely, unexpectedly happy. He'd taken a risk on something terrifying and uncertain, and it had paid off in ways he never could have predicted. His phone buzzed with a text from Ava. "Just got out of the meeting. Thinking about you too? How was the rest of your day?" Good. Normal. Liam keeps asking when you're coming back. Tell him soon. Tell him I miss him too. Will do. Miss you. Miss you more. Daniel set his phone down and looked around his small apartment. Liam's toys scattered across the floor, dishes in the sink, the comfortable chaos of their life. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was theirs, and now Ava was part of it too. And that, Daniel thought, was more than enough. 6 months later, Daniel stood in Ava's apartment for the first time and tried not to let his jaw drop. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Boston Harbor, the city lights reflecting off the water like scattered stars. The furniture was elegant but not cold, expensive but lived in. Bookshelves lined one wall, packed with everything from technical manuals to poetry collections to what looked like romance novels tucked in the corner. "You're staring," Ava said, coming up behind him with 2 glasses of wine. "Your place is incredible." "It's too big for one person. I've been thinking about that lately." She handed him a glass and led him to the couch. "Liam asleep?" "Out cold. Emma said he went down easy." Daniel sat next to her, still marveling at the view. "You could have told me you lived in a penthouse." "Would it have changed anything?" "No, but I would have worn nicer shoes." Ava laughed and curled into his side. They'd been doing this more often now, trading off between his apartment and hers, though his was easier for Liam's routine. But tonight was special. Liam was having a sleepover at Marcus's place with Marcus's daughter, giving them a rare evening completely alone. "I have something to tell you," Ava said, setting her wine down. Daniel's stomach tightened. Those words never led anywhere good. "Okay." "I got offered a position. CEO of a startup in San Francisco. One of my old colleagues is putting together a team, and they want me to lead it." The world tilted slightly. "San Francisco." "I know. It's across the country. It would mean leaving Hexagon, leaving Boston, leaving everything we've built here." "Are you considering it?" "I was. For about 5 minutes before I realized I don't want it." She turned to face him. 3 years ago, I would have jumped at that opportunity. Building something from scratch, complete control, all the challenges I love. But now I keep thinking about Saturday mornings at the park, about Liam showing me his dinosaur collection, about you. And none of that exists in San Francisco. Daniel exhaled slowly. "You're sure?" "I'm sure. Boston is home now." "You're home." She paused. "But it made me think about what I do want, about what the next step looks like for us." "What does it look like?" "I don't know exactly, but I want more of this. More nights like tonight, more mornings waking up together, more building a life instead of just visiting each other's lives." Daniel set his own wine down and took her hands. "I want that too. But my lease isn't up until August, and your place is too formal for a 3-year-old. I know. I've been thinking about that." Ava smiled. "What if we found something new? Something that's ours, not mine or yours, big enough for all of us. With a yard for Liam, maybe a home office for me, space for you to spread out your tech projects. You want to move in together?" "I want to build a home together. There's a difference." Daniel's heart was racing. This was huge, bigger than anything they'd navigated so far. Moving in together meant commitment, permanence, making it official in a way that went beyond HR disclosures and media interviews. "What about Liam?" he asked. "This is a big change for him." "I know, and we'd do it right. Talk to him first, make sure he's comfortable, go at his pace." "But Daniel, he already asks why I don't live with you guys. I think he's ready, even if we're still catching up." Daniel thought about his apartment, the couch he slept on, the cramped kitchen, the way Liam's toys took over every available surface. Then he thought about waking up with Ava every morning, about having space to breathe, about Liam having a real home instead of the makeshift one Daniel had been providing. "Yeah," he said. "Let's do it." Ava's face lit up. "Yeah? Yeah. Let's find a place. Let's build a home." She kissed him, and it felt like sealing a promise. When they pulled apart, she was smiling wider than he'd ever seen. "I already have a realtor," she admitted. "Of course you do. I might have started looking at listings last week, just to see what was out there." "Show me." They spent the next 2 hours looking at houses on her laptop, debating neighborhoods and school districts and commute times. It was domestic and normal and completely surreal, planning a future together like it was the most natural thing in the world. Around midnight, Daniel's phone rang. Emma. Hey, is everything okay? Everything's fine. Liam just woke up asking for you. He's not upset, just wants to say goodnight. Daniel smiled. Put him on. Daddy? Liam's sleepy voice came through. Hey, buddy, you okay? I had a dream about the park. You and Ava were there. Was it a good dream? Yeah, we were flying kites. Can we do that tomorrow? We'll see. You should go back to sleep now, okay? Okay. Love you, Daddy. Love you too. After he hung up, Ava was watching him with a soft expression. He's lucky to have you, she said. I'm lucky to have him. You're both lucky to have each other. She stood up and held out her hand. Come on, let's go to bed. Daniel followed her to the bedroom, and they fell asleep tangled together, the city lights painting patterns across the ceiling. The next morning, they picked up Liam and went straight to the park, kite in hand. Liam was delighted to discover his dream coming true, running across the grass with the string clutched in his small hands. Daddy, Ava! Look how high it is! We see it, Daniel called back. They spent the whole afternoon there, and as the sun started to set, Daniel pulled Liam aside while Ava was gathering their things. Hey, buddy, can I talk to you about something? Okay. Liam sat next to him on the bench, swinging his legs. You know how Ava comes to visit us a lot? Yeah, I like when she visits. What if she didn't just visit? What if she lived with us? Liam's eyes went wide. Like, all the time? Yeah, all the time. We'd find a new place, bigger than our apartment now, maybe with a yard where you could play, and Ava would be there every day. Would we still go to the park? Of course. And would you still read me stories? Every night. Liam thought about it, his face scrunched up in concentration. Would Ava read me stories too? If you wanted her to. I want her to. She does good voices. He looked up at Daniel. Will she be my mom? The question caught Daniel off guard. That's something we'd figure out together. She won't replace anyone. But she cares about you a lot, and she wants to be part of our family. Is that okay with you? Yeah, I think that's good. Liam paused. Can we get a dog? Daniel laughed. We'll talk about that later. Okay. Liam jumped off the bench. I'm going to go tell Ava. He ran off before Daniel could stop him, and Daniel watched as he crashed into Ava, talking a mile a minute about the new house and the yard and the dog he was already convinced they'd get. Ava met Daniel's eyes over Liam's head, her expression a mix of joy and terror and hope. They started house hunting the following week. Ava's realtor, a no-nonsense woman named Patricia, who showed them properties with ruthless efficiency, understood what they needed. Good school district, reasonable commute for both of them, space for a family to grow. The third house they looked at felt right immediately. It was in Brookline, a tree-lined street with other families, kids' bikes and driveways. 3 bedrooms, a backyard, a kitchen big enough for all of them to cook together. It needed work. The paint was outdated, the floors needed refinishing, but it had good bones. What do you think? Ava asked while Liam ran around the empty living room, his voice echoing. I think it's perfect, Daniel said. But Ava, the price, is what we can afford together. I'm not buying you a house. We're buying us a house. There's a difference. I can't contribute equally. I don't care about equally. I care about equitably. We'll figure out what works for both of us. She took his hand. Stop trying to make this transactional. It's not about the money. It's about the life we're building. They made an offer that afternoon. It was accepted 2 days later. The next month was chaos, packing, coordinating movers, handling inspections and paperwork. Liam was excited but also anxious about leaving the only home he remembered. Daniel found him crying in his room one night, clutching his stuffed elephant. What's wrong, buddy? I don't want to forget our old apartment. Daniel sat on the bed and pulled him close. You won't forget it. It's where we learned to be just you and me. It's important, but the new house is going to be good too. We'll make new memories there. Promise? Promise. Ava was amazing through all of it, patient with Liam's emotional swings, helpful with logistics, excited about turning the house into their home. She hired contractors for the renovations and insisted on having Liam pick the color for his new room. Blue, he announced, like the ocean. Ocean blue it is, Ava agreed. At work, things had finally stabilized. The gossip had faded to background noise. Daniel's performance continued to be strong, and Ava's leadership was earning respect even from her initial critics. They'd proven that yes, you could have a relationship and maintain professional boundaries. It wasn't easy, and it required constant awareness, but it was possible. Marcus cornered Daniel in the break room one afternoon. "So I heard you're moving in together. News travels fast. Emma told Sarah, who told me. Congratulations, man, that's huge." "Thanks, it feels huge. In a good way." "How's Liam handling it?" "He's excited and nervous, but mostly excited. He keeps planning where all his toys are going to go." Marcus smiled. "And you? How are you handling it?" Daniel considered the question. "I'm terrified and happy, both at the same time." "That sounds about right." Marcus grabbed his coffee. "For what it's worth, I think you guys are going to be great. You've already weathered worse than most couples face in a lifetime. If you can survive all that, you can survive anything." The move happened on a Saturday in late spring. Marcus and a few other friends showed up to help, along with professional movers Ava had hired. By evening, the house was full of boxes but starting to feel lived in. Liam ran from room to room, claiming spaces, declaring which corner was perfect for his blocks and which window had the best view. Ava followed behind him, equally excited, pointing out where they could put bookshelves and asking his opinion on furniture placement. Daniel stood in the kitchen, watching them, and felt something shift into place. This was his family. Not perfect, not conventional, but theirs. That night, after Liam fell asleep in his new ocean blue room, Daniel and Ava collapsed on the couch they'd set up in the living room. "We did it," Ava said. "We did. How does it feel?" "Scary." "Right. Like the beginning of something." She turned to look at him. "It is the beginning of something. We get to decide what that looks like." Over the next few months, they settled into routines. Ava learned Liam's morning routine, which breakfast he'd actually eat versus which he'd just push around his plate. Daniel learned Ava's work patterns, when she needed space to think, and when she needed someone to pull her out of her head. Liam learned that having Ava around meant more patience for his questions, more help with projects, another person who showed up consistently. There were hard days when Ava worked too much and Daniel felt like he was single parenting again. Days when Daniel's anxiety about money came back and he felt inadequate living in a house he couldn't have afforded alone. Days when Liam tested boundaries, trying to figure out Ava's role in his life. But there were more good days. Mornings when they all had breakfast together before work and school. Evenings when Ava helped Liam with art projects while Daniel cooked dinner. Weekends when they went to the park or the aquarium or just stayed home reading and playing. 6 months after moving in, Daniel woke up on a Sunday morning to find Ava already up, making pancakes while Liam sat at the counter telling her about a dream he'd had. "And then the dinosaur said I could ride on its back, and we flew over the ocean." "That sounds amazing. Did you see any whales?" 3 whales. "And a shark, but it was nice. It didn't bite anyone." Daniel walked in and kissed the top of Liam's head, then kissed Ava good morning. "Sleep okay?" she asked. "Better than I have in years." After breakfast, Liam went to play in the backyard while Daniel and Ava cleaned up the kitchen. She was washing dishes when she said, without looking at him, "I want to talk to you about something." Daniel's stomach clenched. "Okay." "I've been thinking about Liam, about my role in his life. And I know we said we'd figure it out as we went, but I think I'm ready to define it more clearly." "What do you mean?" She turned off the water and faced him. "I want to be more than just the woman who lives with you guys. I want to be a real parent to him, not replacing his mother, because I could never do that and I wouldn't try. But being someone he can count on. Someone who has authority to make decisions about his care, who shows up to parent-teacher conferences, who's legally able to pick him up from school or take him to the doctor." "You want to adopt him?" "If you're comfortable with it, and if Liam is, I know it's a big step. But I love him, Daniel. I love both of you, and I want to make it official." Daniel felt his eyes stinging. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it. Talk to Liam. Make sure it's what you both want." I don't need to think about it. I know you'd be an amazing parent to him. You already are." He pulled her into a hug. "But yeah, we should talk to Liam. Make sure he understands what it means." That evening, they sat down with Liam in the living room. "Buddy, we want to talk to you about something important," Daniel started. Liam looked up from his coloring book, suddenly serious. Am I in trouble? No, nothing like that. We want to know how you feel about Ava being part of our family. She is part of our family. You're right, she is. But we're talking about making it official, having her be your parent, like I am. She'd still be Ava, but she'd also be someone who takes care of you and makes decisions with me about important stuff. Liam looked at Ava. Would you come to my school stuff? Every single event, Ava said. And if I got hurt, could you take me to the doctor? Yes? And would you still do voices when you read stories? Always. Okay, then yes. I want that. He went back to coloring. The matter settled in his mind. Daniel and Ava exchanged glances over his head, both fighting smiles at how simple Liam had made it. The adoption process took months: paperwork, home visits, interviews. Because Daniel had sole custody and Liam's biological mother had terminated her rights, it was relatively straightforward, but still required patience and persistence. The court date fell on a Tuesday in early December. They dressed up, Daniel in a suit that Ava had insisted on buying him, Ava in a navy dress, Liam in his favorite button-up shirt with dinosaurs on it because he'd refused to compromise. The judge was a kindly woman who'd clearly done thousands of these proceedings. She asked Liam a few questions about whether he understood what was happening and whether he wanted Ava to be his parent. Yes, Liam said clearly. She makes good pancakes, and she's nice to my daddy. The courtroom erupted in quiet laughter. The judge smiled. Those are excellent qualifications. Daniel, Ava, you've completed all the requirements. It's clear that this is in Liam's best interest. I'm granting the adoption petition. She signed the papers, and just like that, Ava was officially Liam's parent. Outside the courthouse, Marcus was waiting with Sarah and their daughter. He'd taken the morning off to be there for them. Congratulations, he said, hugging them each in turn. Liam, you want to get ice cream to celebrate? Yes, Liam shouted. They went to a place nearby, and Daniel watched Liam bounce between the adults, completely at ease, completely happy. This was what family looked like. Not perfect, not traditional, but whole. That night, after Liam was asleep, Daniel and Ava sat in their backyard, wrapped in blankets against the December cold. Thank you, Ava said quietly. For what? For letting me into your life. Both your lives. For taking a chance on someone who had no idea what she was doing. You figured it out pretty well. I'm still figuring it out. Some days I have no idea if I'm doing it right. None of us do. That's parenting. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I never thought I could have this. A family, a home, someone who saw past all the armor and liked what they found underneath. I love what I found underneath. I love you too. They sat in comfortable silence, watching their breath fog in the cold air, listening to the quiet neighborhood sounds. Inside, their son was sleeping in his room, safe and loved. Tomorrow, they'd wake up and do it all again. The routines, the challenges, the small joys that made up a life. A year later, Daniel stood in that same backyard, but now it was decorated with balloons and streamers. Liam's 5th birthday party was in full swing. Kids from his kindergarten class running around while parents stood in clusters making small talk. Ava was at the grill with Marcus, the two of them arguing good-naturedly about proper hot dog cooking technique. Liam was showing off his new bike to anyone who would watch, proud of the training wheels he'd already decided he didn't need. Rachel from Daniel's old team approached him with her husband. Great party, she said. Liam seems so happy. He is. We all are. I heard congratulations are in order. Someone said you two got engaged? Daniel smiled and held up his left hand where a simple silver band now sat. Married, actually. We did it quiet last month, just us and Liam and a few close friends. That's wonderful. I'm happy for you. After she walked away, Daniel looked around at the scene, the chaos, the laughter, the life they'd built. It had been 2 years since that accidental text. 2 years since Ava showed up at his door and changed everything. The professional scrutiny had faded mostly, though they still got occasional looks or comments. Daniel had been promoted twice, his work speaking louder than any gossip. Ava was thriving as CPO, her leadership style earning respect even from initial doubters. They'd learned to navigate the challenges of working at the same company while maintaining boundaries, and most people had accepted that yes, it was possible to have both. Liam ran over and grabbed Daniel's hand. "Daddy, come see me ride my bike." I'm coming. He followed his son to the driveway where Ava was waiting, ready to spot him on his first solo attempt. "You ready?" she asked Liam. "Ready." She gave him a gentle push, and Liam wobbled forward, feet pumping, face scrunched in concentration. He made it 10 feet before losing balance and tipping over, but he was laughing as Ava helped him up, already eager to try again. "Did you see, Daddy? I almost did it." "You did great, buddy. Want to try again?" "Yes." They spent the next 20 minutes coaching him through attempts, celebrating each small success, and watching Ava's patience with him, the genuine joy on her face when he finally made it 20 feet without falling. Daniel felt overwhelmed with gratitude. This wasn't the life he'd planned. It was better. That evening, after the party wound down and Liam crashed hard from sugar and excitement, Daniel and Ava cleaned up the backyard together. "That was a good day," Ava said, tying off a garbage bag. "The best. He's growing up so fast. I can't believe he's 5 already." "I know. Soon he won't want us around at all." "We've got a few years before that." She set down the garbage bag and walked over to him. "Can I tell you something?" "Always." "I've been thinking about what you said that night in your old apartment, about wanting more kids, about not letting yourself imagine it because you were just focused on surviving." Daniel's heart started beating faster. "Yeah? I want that with you, another kid, maybe 2. I want to do this from the beginning, together, see what we can build." "You're serious?" "Completely serious. I know I'm not getting any younger, and I know it's a huge decision, but when I think about our future, that's what I see. More kids, more chaos, more of this." She gestured at the yard, the evidence of life being lived. Daniel pulled her close. "I want that too. I didn't think I did, but watching you with Liam, seeing you as a parent, yeah, I want that." "So we're doing this?" "We're doing this." She kissed him, and it tasted like promise and possibility. 18 months later, Daniel walked into the hospital room where Ava was holding their daughter, a tiny thing with dark hair and Ava's nose. Liam stood next to the bed, peering at his new sister with fascination. "She's so small," Liam whispered. "You were that small once," Daniel told him. "Really? Really? Can I hold her?" Ava carefully transferred the baby to Liam's arms, Daniel supporting her weight. Liam stared down at her, completely mesmerized. "Hi, Emma," he said softly. "I'm your big brother. I'm going to teach you about dinosaurs." Daniel met Ava's eyes over their children's heads, and he knew she was thinking the same thing he was. They'd done it. They'd taken something that started as chaos and uncertainty and built it into something real, something lasting. Life wasn't perfect. They still had hard days, still struggled with balancing work and family, still navigated the complexities of their situation. Daniel still sometimes felt inadequate, still worried about money even though they were stable. Ava still worked too much sometimes, still struggled with letting go of control. But they had this. They had each other. They had Liam and Emma and a home full of love and laughter and the beautiful mess of family life. 2 years after Emma was born, Daniel stood in the backyard of their house watching Liam teach his sister how to kick a soccer ball. At 7, he was patient with her toddler attempts, encouraging her when she missed, cheering when she made contact. Ava came out and handed Daniel a beer. "How was your day?" she asked. "Good. Got approval for the new infrastructure project I've been pitching." "That's amazing. I knew they'd go for it." "How was yours?" "Long, but productive. We're launching the new product line next month." They stood in comfortable silence, watching their kids play. Inside, dinner was cooking. Emma's toys were scattered across the living room, the chaos and beauty of their life on full display. "Do you ever think about that night?" Ava asked. "When you sent me that text by accident?" "All the time." "Do you regret anything?" Daniel thought about the question seriously, about the scrutiny they'd faced, the professional challenges, the judgment from people who didn't know them, about the fear and uncertainty and the times he'd wondered if it was worth it. "No," he said finally, "not a single thing. It was all worth it." "Even the hard parts?" "Especially the hard parts. They got us here." Ava leaned against him and they watched Liam and Emma play as the sun set behind them, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. This was everything Daniel never knew he needed. Not perfect, but real. Not easy, but worth fighting for. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out and smiled at the message from Marcus. Dinner next week? Our place. The kids can destroy our house instead of yours for a change. Daniel typed back. Sounds perfect. We'll bring dessert. He put his phone away and pulled Ava closer. Inside, the timer went off for dinner. Liam and Emma came running over, demanding to know what they were eating, Emma's face already sticky from something she'd found in the yard. Pasta, Ava announced, and then baths for both of you. Aw, do we have to? Liam complained. Yes, you're both filthy. They headed inside, the kids running ahead, and Daniel caught Ava's hand before she followed. I love you, he said. I don't say it enough, but I love you. For showing up that night, for taking a chance on us, for building this with me. I love you too, all of you. She squeezed his hand. Come on, dinner's getting cold. They walked inside together, into the warm light and chaos of their home, into the life they'd built from one accidental text and a decision to be brave. It wasn't the story Daniel had imagined for himself. It was better. It was real. It was theirs. And years later, when people asked how they met, Daniel would smile and say, I sent her a message I didn't mean to send. She showed up anyway, and that changed everything. Because sometimes the best things in life came from mistakes, from taking risks, from letting someone see you, really see you, and choosing to show up anyway. They'd weathered the storm. They'd fought for what they wanted, and they'd won something neither of them expected, but both of them needed. A family. A home. A love that was messy and complicated and absolutely worth it. In the kitchen, Liam was setting the table while Emma tried to help by moving napkins from one spot to another. Ava was draining pasta while simultaneously answering Emma's endless questions about why water was wet. Daniel started cutting vegetables for the salad, fitting into the rhythm they'd developed over years of doing this together. This was it. This was the life he'd been afraid to want. The life he'd thought was impossible for someone like him. And it had all started with a text sent to the wrong person at exactly the right time. Daddy, Liam said, putting down the last fork, can we have movie night after dinner? If you both eat your vegetables and don't fight about bath time. Deal, Liam said immediately, always the negotiator. They sat down to dinner together, passing plates and trading stories about their days. Emma spilled her juice, Liam talked too much with his mouth full, Ava and Daniel exchanged looks of exasperation and amusement. It was loud and messy, and exactly what Daniel had learned family was supposed to be. After dinner, after baths, after the movie and bedtime stories and the final glasses of water and trips to the bathroom, after both kids were finally blessedly asleep, Daniel and Ava collapsed on the couch together. We survived another day, Ava said. We did. Same time tomorrow? Same time tomorrow. She rested her head on his shoulder, and they sat there in the quiet house, in the life they'd built. And Daniel thought about all the choices that had led them here, the terrifying ones, and the brave ones, and the ones that had seemed impossible until they weren't. He thought about the Daniel from 3 years ago, the one who kept his head down and never took risks, who convinced himself that safe was the same as happy. That Daniel never could have imagined this, never could have imagined loving someone like Ava, building a family, creating a home full of laughter and chaos and joy. But this Daniel, the one who'd taken a chance and fought for what he wanted, knew better. Knew that sometimes the scariest choices led to the best outcomes, that sometimes you had to risk everything to gain what mattered most. What are you thinking about? Ava asked sleepily. How lucky I am, how none of this was supposed to happen, and I'm so grateful it did. Me too. She tilted her head up to kiss him. Every day I'm grateful. They stayed there until they couldn't keep their eyes open anymore, then headed upstairs to bed, checking on both kids on the way. Liam was sprawled across his bed, one arm flung over his elephant. Emma was curled up with her blanket, thumb in her mouth. In their own room, Daniel and Ava climbed into bed, and she curled against him the way she always did. Good night, she whispered. Good night. I love you. I love you too. And as Daniel drifted off to sleep in the home they'd built, with his family safe around him and the woman he loved in his arms, he knew that this, all of this, had been worth every difficult moment, every challenge, every risk. Because in the end, they hadn't just survived the storm. They'd built something beautiful in the aftermath, something real and lasting, and theirs. And that, Daniel thought as sleep claimed him, was everything he'd ever needed.